The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lookers. Choose from over 6,000 vehicles, new or used, small or grand. The fastest goals, the experts' opinions. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Game one of today's busy Premiership fixture card is over, and it is St Johnstone 0, Rangers 2. The goals coming from Danilo and Rabbi Matondo. Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel in the studio with me, Andrew Maclean, the top team all around the grounds. Of course, some big 3 o'clock kickoffs coming up. A 3:15 kickoff in Dingwall as well because of the Livingston team bus breaking down. That one will get underway as well, though. We will take a look back at the moment at that St Johnstone Rangers game. Rangers certainly dominant. St Johnstone not even with a shot on target on the day, but is that enough to appease the Rangers supporters that were booing Michael Beale at, first of all, the end of the game at Ibrox against Celtic, and then at half time? Gabriel was telling us as well in this game.
It'll be interesting to hear from them. It'll be interesting to hear the thoughts of the Rangers manager. But we said it before kick-off, Andrew, most important thing today, especially with a little bit of pressure that Michael Beale's come under, was to get the 3 points. He's achieved that. He can look at game time for one or two players. He can look at the impact of the substitutions. Sima, I thought, done particularly well when he come on. Matondo gets a goal that puts the game to bed. They get a clean sheet. St Johnstone not had a shot on target. So you can dress it up any way you want. You can dress that up into good positive stats, and they certainly are. But the overall picture, the game itself, I thought was very, very average indeed.
Yeah. I think Michael Beale will enjoy the stats. We've seen this week when he comes out and he round off a few stats. When you see the stats, over 70% possession today, a couple of goals, 20 shots.
He was talking about shots, 20 shots, 6 on target
yeah,
from Rangers, which tells you a lot of the time from the evidence of what we're seeing. Players aren't taking shots from good positions, so it's all well and good saying that your team have had 21 more shots than anyone else in the league, but you can shoot from anywhere. We saw Rid van Yilmaz shooting from 35, 40 yards. That was going over the park.
And I was going to come on to that.
So necessarily mean better, does it?
The stats, tell you one side. Often when a manager wants to point or is in troubled times, he can point to stats, but the naked eye doesn't lie. And when you're watching it and the Rangers fans are watching it, they're not seeing entertaining football. It was effective today because they got over the line. So how can you argue with the 3 points? Of course, but I still think Rangers fans want to see more. Michael Beale will point to the successes, but I think behind closed doors, how many staff will still be talking about how do we get us to a level that's where we want to be? Entertain.
Credit where it's due to begin with. They've scored 2 good goals. Danilo's goal is a brave header, and he paid the price for his bravery and is now in hospital. The second goal from Rabbi Matondo is first class. So the 2 goals are terrific. The 3 points were a must, and they're in the kit bag going back down the road. Rangers remain, however, a difficult watch. They are not an entertaining side, and 6 changes were made from the side who lost to Celtic for this game against St Johnstone, and it didn't enliven Rangers. Now they go on to Real Betis in the start of their second European campaign, the first one having perished at the hands of PSV Eindhoven and taken Rangers to the Europa League. They will need to play significantly better at Ibrox on Thursday than they did today, or Real Betis will win at Ibrox.
Roger Hanna, where does the balance lie between looking at it as 3 points that Rangers wanted and needed, and it maybe not being the performance that the supporters wanted?
Yeah, it's not the performance the supporters wanted, but for Michael Beale it was all about the result this afternoon. Anything short of a victory this afternoon, as the boys said at the top of the show, would have asked real questions and could have forced Michael Beale out the door. So they win at Perth. Not fancy, but this job done. It's now Betis on Thursday night. I don't think Betis will be treated the same way. I think people realise Betis are a decent La Liga team. They're away to Barcelona tonight. Manuel Pellegrini has been there and done it all before, and I think Michael Beale might get a free hit at Betis in the eyes of Rangers fans on Thursday night. But after that, Motherwell at home in the league, Livingston at home in a Viaplay Cup quarter-final, Aberdeen at home in the league. Those are the games that now Michael Beale will be assessed on, and it is all about results, but I think to get results, particularly against Motherwell and Aberdeen, he will need a far higher level of performance than his players produced at Perth today.
Fraser Wishart, there was a lot of talk about pressure and the pressure that Michael Beale and his players were under from, externally, whether it was from the media or supporters. Do you think this result and performance eases that at all?
Well, I think any external pressure comes mainly from supporters at any football club, Andrew. They're the ones that almost make the decision as soon as they start to put pressure on the board. The manager goes, and Michael Beale will know that. And I was actually watching the pre-match stuff at home before I came to Fir Park, and Michael Beale's pre-match press conference or interview with Sky. He basically said it's just about the 3 points, and when you're not playing well, it's difficult to put in the performance as well, but results can breed that bit of confidence in the team, and in the future games perhaps get a better performance. But if you look at it from Michael Beale's point of view, he knows if he drops points today, and if he'd lost, then I think his job was definitely on the line. So he's maintained that status quo, I think, in the eyes of supporters. Those who think he should be given a chance will probably remain in that position. Those who think he should go won't have changed their minds, but he's got those 3 points. He could have played well and battered the goalkeeper, and Mitov has a fantastic day, and they draw one each. That's no good to Michael Beale. Performance was not the important thing today. It was getting the 3 points, but that can't go on forever, Andrew. Rangers as a big club with a big budget have to be playing better football. But today, for me, just to getting the 3 points and trying to get a bit more confidence in a team that's not playing particularly well at the moment.
Would you fully expect Michael Beale to focus on the good parts today? Because you wouldn't really expect that after the negativity that has surrounded the club over the past few weeks that you would want to come out and maybe mention too many negatives at this moment in time.
Of course. I mean, football managers are like politicians sometimes. When things aren't going the way they want them to be, they've got to point to what is good and give the fans things that they want to hear. So of course he'll highlight that there was 2 very good goals scored. Some of the stuff that we pointed to, with Danilo getting a goal, Lawrence playing 90 minutes, Roof getting a good run on the side. So all that he'll point to, and the 3 points is the most important thing. But again, I'll go back to it, the naked eye doesn't lie. The Rangers fans know what they're seeing, and I think Fraser's right in terms of the status quo. Those who have still got question marks about Michael Beale, don't know if they'll go away and think, oh well, I was wrong from a couple of weeks ago. I think they'll still have the same feelings tonight, and I think they're right in having those concerns. I think Thursday is a massive game for them, because if Betis go there and they win convincingly, you've got 50,000 Rangers fans the first time after the Celtic game giving their opinion on the night, and those games after that are huge as well.
He's got to come out with positives. He's got to. He's been under pressure since the Celtic game. He's been up there. He's got the 3 points he's looking for. He's got a clean sheet. He's got game time into some of his key players for obviously big games coming up. So yeah, I think he will come out with the positives. If I was Michael Beale, I would certainly be looking at the positives rather than the negatives.
Looking forward to these games coming up as well. 5 Premiership games to go today. We'll go back around the grounds next.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
Scottish football's league leader. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
One game down in the Premiership, and there are still 5 big matches to go. St Johnstone 0, Rangers 2 was the full-time score at McDermott Park, but a lot of interesting ties coming up at 3 o'clock. And as I mentioned earlier, 3:15 for Ross County against Livingston. Slight delay on that one as there was an issue with the Livingston team bus getting up the road, but that one will be kicking off 15 minutes later than the rest. Let's go round the grounds, shall we, to get a bit of a flavour of things before the games kick off at 3 o'clock. Let's start off at Tynecastle. Dave Galloway, Hearts and Aberdeen, two teams that will be looking to really, kick their season into business.
Absolutely, Andrew, and this is a massive game for two misfiring sides. Hearts have suffered 4 successive defeats and they failed to score in 3 of them, but they see this match as one which could really spark a revival in their fortunes. Aberdeen's only win this season so far has been a 2-1 victory over League One Stirling Albion, but for a disputed 100th minute penalty at St Mirren, they would have been on their own at one stage at the bottom of the Premiership. These pre-season favourites to battle for third place, they certainly have plenty to prove, and they'd love to show that they are better than results suggest. You could say, many people have said, it's a must-win game for both teams, so something's got to give. Should be a very interesting afternoon.
Yeah, let's hear from Stephen Naismith first and then Barry Robson.
It will be much more of the same. I think it's more a paper thing than anything else. Internally, nothing changes. In terms of the buck stopping with me, I personally felt that when I was a player, when I was involved in the teams, when I've been a coach, and also when I took the team last season. So nothing really changes in that front as well. I'll work as hard as I can with the guys that are part of the squad and part of the coaching team, the support staff, to try and bring success to the club, and that's probably been our motivation from the time we've took the team.
We just want to go and perform as well as we can. We start looking at the table later on in the season. At the minute we're trying to build and get as strong as we can be, and stay in the fight as you like, and have a strong season. It's a long season and we know that. Listen, we never got carried away once last season. You'll know that with me, and I don't get carried away now. I know exactly where we need to be. I know exactly how we're going to get there, and I know exactly how long it takes to get there. So we're all right, and we're just looking forward to another big game at a great venue.
Yeah, it should be a good one at Tynecastle. Fraser Wisher is at Fir Park for Motherwell against St Mirren. Dave Galloway was just talking about Hearts and Aberdeen being the early season favourites to battle it out for third place. Well, looks like Motherwell and St Mirren are taking their place in the early stages of this campaign, Fraser.
Yeah, absolutely. The big guns like Hearts and Aberdeen, as you say, and Hibernian have sacked their manager as well. So the big guns are not doing it. It's clubs like Motherwell and St Mirren that are making the challenge at the top of the table, and both unbeaten in the league so far. Motherwell second, St Mirren fourth. St Mirren in the quarter-final League Cup as well, having beaten Motherwell a few weeks ago at Paisley. Although I'm told with those out of a game, Motherwell played really well, so I don't think there'll be much between the two teams today. And sure, Rick Kettlewell's got a brilliant record as a manager. You think back to the tail end of last season when he took over, they were in real trouble, but he got them safe very early and got the job deservedly, and they started this season so brilliantly. But I think for St Mirren, the key to today is having Mark O'Hara back. They've changed the formation slightly to a 3-4-3 with Kiltie and McMenamin supporting the main striker Michael Mandron, but O'Hara with his driving runs and the goals he gets in midfield, he's also the skipper as well. I think it's got a terrific boost for the away support to my right that he's playing. So yeah, looking forward to this one. I just don't think there'll be too much between the two teams. It may well be a draw, but I think we're in for a really special game. Pitch looking brilliant, it's been watered, we talk about it all the time, but it's just great to look at, great to play on, I'm sure, for the players. So I think we might see a few goals here today at Fir Park.
Any defeat hurts, especially in a good run. When you lose a game of football, it's a tough one to take. But we lost to a good team. I'm going to go back to that. I said this before the game in the Fireplay. We're playing against a really good side. They've been spoken about a lot in the press because they've been doing well, because they've got a good manager, because they've got real good options and a good squad of players. So I go back to it. It's a hard game for us.
Motherwell boss Stuart Kettlewell there. Let's go to Rugby Park. Kilmarnock against Hibs. Michelle Evans is there, and it will be a first sighting for Hibs fans of a Nick Montgomery side. He is a bit of an unknown entity in Scottish football. He does have a couple of Scotland under 21 caps, but Michelle, that will be the intrigue of the Hibs supporters to see what differences he will make today after Lee Johnson's sacking.
Yeah, it certainly will, and I'm actually surprised. I'm looking over at the Hibs stand just now, and they're not here in the great numbers that I thought they would be to be able to see his reign getting kicked off today here at Rugby Park. I suppose when you look at their record so far, just 1 win in 4. That win obviously coming at Pittodrie under David Gray just before the international break, and I can imagine why they're maybe not feeling so great at the moment. However, you know, a little bit of excitement for them. Nick Montgomery has come in this week, and you know the pressure is certainly on him. They'll be expecting him to come in and start making Hibs climb up the table. It's not going to help matters that within a couple of hours of being unveiled, everybody was talking about him in the same breath as Ange Postecoglou because of that Australian link, because he's been out there at Central Coast Mariners, and it certainly won't be helped today by the fact that they're up against Kilmarnock, because Kilmarnock are, as we all know, the only team so far that have beaten both halves of the Old Firm this season. So he is certainly up against it. Quickly kind of turning to the home side, the much fancied Kilmarnock. Everybody's been talking about them as a surprise package this year. They lost their last game 1-0 to Ross County, so they'll be looking to get back to winning ways here today. But for me, I think the most important thing is I can't wait to ask Nick Montgomery what he thinks of the pitch down here, because it looks absolutely awful.
And one final game to go as well, which is Ross County against Livingston. I'll give you the teams from there. Laidlaw in goal for Ross County. The back three, Nightingale, Baldwin and Leake. The wing backs, Brown and Reid. 3 in midfield, Turner, Randall and Danda. It's a front 2 of White and Murray. As for the visitors, Livingston, Shamal George in goal for them. DeLucas, Obalai and Devlin. The back 3, Brandon and Penrice. The wing backs, Holt and Shinnie. In the centre of midfield, it will be Kelly and Newbley, either side of Bruce Anderson. Celtic taking on Dundee at 3 o'clock as well. We'll go back to Celtic Park next.
Action as it happens, and your reaction from 5 on the open line. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Just minutes away from kick-off in the big 3 o'clock games. Celtic against Dundee. We'll go back to Celtic Park shortly. It's Motherwell against St Mirren, Kilmarnock against Hibs, Hearts, Aberdeen, and there is a 3:15 kick-off as well in Ross County against Livingston. Slight delay to that one, but let's go to Celtic Park, get a flavour of things, a recap of the teams from Roger Hannah.
Yes, Andrew, you spent so much of the show this afternoon discussing how poor Rangers have been against St Johnstone. It seems amazing it's only 3 weeks since Celtic played out that goalless stalemate here against St Johnstone. Since then, of course, Brendan Rodgers and he started back in the Celtic fans' good books after that Old Firm victory at Ibrox 13 days ago. It put them back top of the Premiership table and goal difference from Motherwell. Joint top as well in terms of goal scoring is Kyogo Furuhashi once again after that match winner 13 days ago across the city. Feyenoord in the Champions League kick-off, it's on the horizon next for Celtic on Tuesday night, but Brendan Rodgers knows nothing short of victory will suffice today as he prepares for that trip to Rotterdam. He's without Leila Barra, injured in international duty with Israel. He's going to miss 4 months. He's still without Cameron Carter-Vickers, Mike Narowski and Stephen Welsh at the back. There's no sign yet of a debut for Marco Tilio, but back today is Rio Hatate on the bench and making a Celtic debut, just coming out with his teammates as I speak. Nathaniel Phillips at centre-half on loan from Liverpool to January. He will partner Liam Scales at the centre of the Celtic defence this afternoon. They go with Joe Hart in goal. It's a back 4, Alistair Johnson, Nat Phillips, Liam Scales and Greg Taylor. The midfield, Matt O'Reilly, Callum McGregor and David Turnbull. In the front 3 of Yang Hyun-jun, Kyogo Furuhashi and Daisen Maida. On the bench, Bain, Ralston and Lagerbielke, Hatate, Holm and Bernardo, Palmer, Forrest and as for Dundee, they arrived here in decent form, 3 wins and 2 draws in their last 5. They haven't been here for 19 months since a thrilling 3-2 defeat when Georgios Diakomakis hit a hat-trick for Celtic. They lost 6-0 here earlier in that relegation campaign when Kyogo got a treble, and you have to look back to May 2001, Andrew, when the last won here. It was with 10 men. Zura Keegan really sent off, but a double from Fabien Caballero, remember him, was enough for the Dark Blues that day. It looks a big ask for Tony Docherty and his managerial bow here at Celtic Park. He's gone with this side this afternoon. A couple of changes from the side that drew 2-2 with St Johnstone at Perth a fortnight ago. Trevor Carson's in goal. Cammy Kerr recalled at right back. It's in the skipper Joe Shaughnessy, Ricky Lamy and Owen Beck on loan from Liverpool, of course a teammate of Nathaniel Phillips. And just in front it's Malachi Boateng. 4 across the middle, Zach Robinson, Finlay Robertson, Luke McCowan and Ryan Howley, who will make his first start for the Dark Blues after a loan move from Coventry City. And leading the line for Dundee here at Celtic Park this afternoon, Amadou Bakayoko. On the bench, Legstons, Ashcroft, McGee, Tiffany, Cameron, Silla, Lewis, Mulligan and Rudden. The referee is Grant Irvin. The VAR is Stephen Kirtland. And as you can probably hear, Andrew, the atmosphere inside Celtic Park far removed from that which saw the players leave that last home game against St Johnstone 3 weeks ago. They're back top of the league. They've had an Old Firm victory. They're looking ahead to a first Champions League group game in the Netherlands on Tuesday night, and they will want to go off the back of a victory. As we said, Dundee have started brightly, coming up as Championship title winners. They've had some good results. They've beaten Hearts at home. They've drawn last time out against St Johnstone. They're in decent form, but this is a major step up for Tony Docherty. Luke McCowan is over the ball in the centre circle. We are underway at Celtic Park.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard Goal Flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy. Planning your holiday? Get essential health advice and medication before you travel.
Yes, underway in the 3 o'clock kickoffs, and we will let you know when Ross County against Livingston gets underway. Should be around 3:15 as well. But why don't we get some predictions from you lot? You know what, we'll take Ross County Livingston out of it because it's a later kickoff. You know, we'll have a lot to deal with later on when that game's finished.
Okay, right, fine.
I'll go Celtic to win at home against Dundee, Motherwell to beat St Mirren, Killie Hibs a draw, Hearts to beat Aberdeen, and Ross County to beat Livingston.
Celtic will beat Dundee, I think, convincingly this afternoon. I'm going to go for St Mirren to beat Motherwell for Park. I'm going to go a draw down at Rugby Park between Killie and Hibs. I think Aberdeen versus Hearts will end a draw also. I think both of those managers will be quite happy with that, if I'm honest.
I'll go Celtic home win, Motherwell St Mirren draw, Kilmarnock home win, and Hearts and Aberdeen a boring draw.
There we go. Underway in the 3 o'clock games. Looking for it's good fixtures, aren't they?
Yeah,
there's a lot. I mean, Celtic Dundee, obviously there'll be a lot of interest in that one, but Motherwell St Mirren, two teams that have been flying at the start of this season. You've got Kilmarnock Hibs, Kilmarnock who have had a good start to the season. Maybe the last few weeks haven't met the expectations they set early on with the wins against Celtic and Rangers, but Nick Montgomery in charge for the first time. Hearts against Aberdeen, two struggling sides who are desperate for points.
There are 5 major clubs in our country: Celtic, Rangers, Hearts, Hibs and Aberdeen. Celtic and Rangers can look after themselves. Hearts, 3 wins in their last 15 league games. If you take in the end of last season, the beginning of this one, 3 wins in 15. Hibs, 1 win out of 4 this season, and that was under the interim managership of David Gray. And Aberdeen, joint bottom of the league. For Hearts, Aberdeen and Hibs, it's a big day. They've got to start showing a better version of themselves than we've seen so far.
And this Celtic Park crowd will be looking for a lot more than what they saw in that game against St Johnstone a couple of weeks ago. Roger was saying that, you know, the atmosphere obviously very different at the moment than it was at the end of that game, but there was the victory over Rangers, but maybe not, you know, Celtic certainly not at their flowing best in that game either. It's maybe still to click a bit under Brendan Rodgers, but on the whole the results have been there outside of getting knocked out the League Cup and then the draw against St Johnstone.
Well, go back to pre-Ibrox. You remember the atmosphere, you remember the calls we were taking and the build up to that, and Celtic fans and Ranger fans coming on and saying both managers were under pressure going into that. Now of course it alleviates some of the pressure when you go away from home and you win, and there were some good things in that first half, but still not back to their sparkling best. So fans going along today will expect improvements. I think they often do when there's this break. You know, managers, you know, quick to say, oh, we need time to work in things. That's an opportunity to work in things. So the fans will expect a better performance and ultimately 3 points.
An assumption has been made that Kyogo's goal at Ibrox changed everything about the season. Well, Celtic have to go and prove that now. And there is only the 1 point gap between them and Rangers. So they have to get about their business.
I agree with you, Hugh. I've not watched, as much as we were having a go at Rangers today, the performance, I've not watched Celtic this season so far and said they were magnificent.
Yeah,
I think today at home to Dundee, the fans will be looking for a big improvement.
Well, before there are any goals or any action, let's set this up, Hugh.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Simple, straightforward and to the point. Tell me the last 8 Scots to have played in Serie A. Who are the last 8 Scots to have played in Serie A?
Straightforward for you. Who are the last 8 Scots to have played in Serie A? Make sure to get your answers in at Clyde SSB, all in one tweet please, and you can be in with a chance of being on the leaderboard at half time. You can see that question as well at Clyde SSB on Twitter. It'll be tweeted out there shortly as well. And I can see Mark and Daz are already conferring over there.
Yeah, we've got a few. A right few.
An easy one, that, do you think?
I think so. I'll be very disappointed if me and my colleague can't finish this off within the next 5 minutes.
Made it sound professional there. A couple of work colleagues. We're far from it.
How would you sum up your relationship?
Relationship, I don't know. It needs some more time to.
It's not a good sign, is it?
No.
Let's get rid of
Is that
this.
one wrong, Hugh?
Relationship.
The really bad sign is that Mark's put an Irishman in among the
Yeah.
8 Scots.
Oh no.
So that was his. That was my colleague's idea. He mouthed.
Back to colleagues now, are you?
Listen.
First goal in the 3 o'clock kickoffs is Kelty Hearts 1-0 up against Cove Rangers. Adam Corbett with a goal for them.
Cove Rangers not been great this season, have they? Paul Hartley coming back midway through last season. I thought they would have done a lot better. In fact, I think I might have tipped them to win the league.
Oh, you did?
Hey, still early doors.
Well, Dundee on the front foot at Celtic Park early on in that game. Joe Hart required to come out and pluck the ball out of the air. So Tony Docherty appears not to have come with the idea of parking any buses.
Yeah, not a whole lot of goalmouth action around the ground so far. McGarry with a shot for Aberdeen that was parried by Xander Clark, but apart from that, pretty quiet in the opening 5 minutes or so in the games at the moment.
Somebody will need to get a result there. They 3 managers, I'll just say 3. No point going on about 2 at Hearts. I'll just go down the 3 route. You're looking at an Aberdeen team not won in the last 10 visits to Tynecastle. Not playing particularly good football with a real good squad as well. Hearts, big things were promised this season, nothing really happening. So that'll be an interesting one. Dave Galloway, I heard him before the show, turned up very, very early, was there at 12:30. Was very lucky to get in, sample the atmosphere, get his pre-match routine off and running. So we're hoping for plenty of goals from Dave.
Barry Robson concerns me slightly. He started to talk in a way that, everything's fine, I know where I'm going, I know how long it'll take us to get there, etc, etc. They've played 4 and won none.
A big goal already in the Premiership.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Kilmarnock 0, Hibs 1. What a start for Nick Montgomery. It's Lewis Miller with the goal at Rugby Park, and well, he couldn't have imagined for a better start than that, could he?
What an appointment. Terrific appointment from the Hibs board. Yeah, obviously, especially when you go away to Kilmarnock, and Michelle did mention the pitch, and we sort of all agree with her.
I think it may go down as a Will Dennis own goal.
Doesn't matter.
Still a goal.
Goes down as Hibs are leading 1-0. That'll be a big game for them. They need to start turning around their fortunes. Sitting down there in 10th. Great start for the new manager, but plenty of football to go. What's my phrase? If you're going to lose a goal, lose it early.
Great start for Nick Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean, all he can do is take the positives out of that. The Hibs fans are very interested to hear Michelle say they weren't there in great number. But those who are there will be immediately behind Nick Montgomery, but he's got to build on that now.
New manager bounce. How much do you believe in it, Mark?
Well, it never happened to him at Brecon.
Well, it did. Listen, I'll tell you, because
did you win your first game at Brecon?
No.
Your
Let me
only
finish.
game.
No. We played Cove, who were runaway leaders, and we scored first. And we got beaten 4-1.
That's where the story ends.
I thought, here we go. This management business is easy. And then 4 quick fire breakaways took care of us that day. Listen, it's always an interesting one. Because it's the same players, particularly after a transfer window, that the manager's got to come in and get a different tune out of it. Look, those Hibs players are good enough to be in a better position and put in better performances than they showed under Lee Johnson. So it doesn't surprise me if they go away there and win at Kilmarnock, even though we were all lauding up Kilmarnock a couple of weeks ago. Seems like a something out the box, not your run of the mill appointment. So one thing's for sure, Hibs need to get it right, because keep pointing the fingers at managers, but the players remain and the hierarchy remain the same. Sooner or later you have to start pointing the fingers at somebody else then, because one guy's not to blame for everything at a football club. There's much more goes into it than that.
Tell you what, Commander, we were all singing their praises at the start of the season. The Celtic, Rangers, what a start they're off to. Oh, they're falling like a stone down there at Rugby Park. Paper Roses ain't longer Paper Roses. They need to get a result this afternoon.
Paper Roses? What's that?
Yeah, Marie Osmond, that's their theme tune.
It's a song Kelly fans sing. Marie Osmond song, Paper Roses.
No, I didn't know that.
Not familiar with that one?
No.
She's a Kilmarnock fan. You've not seen any photos of her before with a Kilmarnock scarf?
Donny Osmond's sister.
Yeah. Donny supports her.
What is she a Kelly fan for?
Because of the song.
Yeah,
because they've adopted the song, she's now a sort of honorary Kilmarnock fan.
Do you know, right? Donny Osmond's a well-known Ayr fan, right? And Marie,
shut up.
True.
Why is he an Ayr fan?
Because he obviously liked the brand of football I was playing when I was a manager.
I'm sure they might want you back soon after last night, by the way.
I was going to go. I'm so delighted I didn't go to that. I was halfway out the door.
You wouldn't have got in. They wouldn't have let you in.
But let me just,
you weren't halfway out the door.
The kitchen door.
Recliner was maybe half up.
No. I had all plans to go, and then I decided I might give that a miss, a bit far away. I'll tell you what, I watched a little bit on TV. They wouldn't get beat 4-0 under my leadership in that manner.
Well, it was 4-1, wasn't it? So
was it 4-0? Was it not?
4-0.
Oh, 4-0. Sorry.
Big smart Andrew,
yeah. Fair enough. Been done there.
Yeah, exactly. When you're going to come out with a snide remark, make sure you get your facts right, big boy.
You're thinking about Southampton won Leicester 4.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But anyway, sloppy start at Celtic Park. Nothing much happening there at all.
Yeah, Hearts starting to threaten a bit at Tynecastle. A couple of decent moves breaking down. There was a good challenge from McGarry to stop Oda from bursting through. And then Shinnie was lectured for a bit of a heavy challenge on Peter Haring as well.
That's an interesting one, that Tynecastle. The manager situation at the start of the season, I said it was odd. There was an argument, why is it so odd? It clearly was odd. People were trying to dance around the fact that it wasn't, and it's not. It was odd. To change it so quickly into the season shows how odd it is.
How many odds are you going to get in this conversation?
It is odd.
It was just changed because Hearts got knocked out of Europe, though. That was it.
I know, but
come on. It was odd.
I think it was always in the plan, but it was just very unconventional.
Yeah. It shows the club as.
What's your thoughts on it?
Odd. What's that, Hugh? What's another word for odd I can use?
Please give him a word, Hugh.
I'll tell you what, while Mark's trying to think about another word for odd, let's hear from Michael Beale, shall we, talking about his take on the game and also a bit of an update on Danilo's injury as well.
I thought we started the game really well. We got control of the game. I thought we had good energy in the four forwards, and we scored a fantastic goal, a really good play from Sam and Tav. It wasn't the first time we got down the side of St Johnstone, but it's an excellent goal. Great finish from Danny, and obviously in that moment with the injury to the two players, the game stopped for a long time. So obviously they lose one to concussion, and it looks like, well, I know he's fractured his cheekbone, Danny, so we'll have to see how long he's out for, but he's got a fracture on his face there and he's away, and hopefully will be operated on this evening. So it's a really disappointing moment for the team, that, because obviously, with Danny's had a couple of bits going on, he's had this 2 weeks to get himself fit and goes and scores, and it was a real big moment for him to get the injury at the time. I thought after that the game got a bit stuffy because it lost momentum. Second half, I thought we created more good chances than we took, but I'm delighted with the goal because I thought that was an excellent goal as well. Great pass from Tom. Rabi's been getting those type of chances quite frequently of late, and it was nice to see him take one because he deserves it.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0, and it's Oda with the goal, lashing it in from a tight angle on the right. And Gordon, you said one of those teams needed to get 3 points, and Hearts have gone about things the right way.
Yeah, I think that'll be a tight game. I said earlier, Aberdeen in their last 10 visits to Tynecastle haven't won, so it's not a good hunting ground for them, especially when they need 3 points and they went a goal behind so early. It's a packed house again, you've got to say. It'll be a terrific atmosphere. So that's a great start for Hearts.
How do you fancy Aberdeen at Eintracht Frankfurt? Not a lot to be confident about there in the Conference League. Dyson Maeda were close for Celtic. Good save from the Dundee goalkeeper. 13 minutes in, still goalless at Celtic.
Yeah, just going back to Michael Beale's take on the game, what did you make of it, Hugh?
It's the take of a man who's just happy to have got the 3 points. Good energy. Not sure about that. The game was fairly laborious for those of us in here. And he said it got stuffy after the injury to Danilo. Yes, that was accurate as well. Very, very bad news for Danilo in particular, and Rangers in general. Fractured cheekbone operation tonight, so he'll be missing for a long time. And that after such a brave goal.
I'm not too sure about that, because some players can play on relatively quickly after it and wear a face protection and whatever else, but it just depends on each individual case, I suppose.
A real bad bang.
Yeah, it did not look good.
So as I say, Michael Beale, just about anything he says today he'll get away with, because the fans are just happy that he got the points. And we're looking at Celtic 15 minutes in, and they are as laborious as Rangers were earlier in the day.
Yeah, what do you think Brendan Rodgers will have made of the opening 15 minutes so far, Mark?
Plenty of possession. I mean, one chance created through Maeda. Maybe asking for a wee bit more, get the ball wider, quicker to players who can then commit other defenders and go by them. But nothing really created through the middle of the pitch for Celtic. So it's kind of similar, I suppose, to the game against St Johnstone. Maybe a tempo's a bit higher.
You've got to give credit. Dundee will come there. Tony Dock's had 2 weeks to work on a nice shape, defensive shape, making it hard for Celtic to break the lines, all the usual tactics that go with it. And so far for Dundee, it's working. But it's a long 90 plus minutes at Celtic Park if you're just going to sit deep and ask your guys to defend, because eventually Celtic will find those passes that unlock the door and score goals.
But it's reminiscent of the St Johnstone game at Celtic Park, which finished goalless.
Yeah, do you think Dundee, how much will Tony Docherty have looked at that match and tried to use that as a blueprint?
Yeah, you've got to, of course, any team that comes away with a point against this Celtic side, you've got to look at what they did right. But on that day, I think you highlighted it earlier, Matt O'Reilly and another day could have scored a couple, even though Celtic's build-up play was poor that day. So those moments change games, and who's to say if this similar happens today? O'Reilly doesn't stick the two in the back of the net, and the game's away for Tony Dock's team. So he'll have his own plan. He'll understand what St Johnstone did well and how they plug gaps, but he'll have his own plan as well.
Well, a bit of a strange incident at Celtic Park, because Kyogo has just walked off the park and gone up the tunnel, and the bench, according to Roger Hanna, looked quite baffled, and the physios have followed him. You wonder whether it could be maybe a recurrence of that shoulder problem is the only thing that comes to mind, as that is the issue that Kyogo's maybe had sort of lingering over the past couple of years in his Celtic career.
Brendan Rodgers did say it would need an operation one day, and Celtic minus Kyogo are not the same threat. And that, with the Europa or the Champions League about to get underway in Rotterdam on Tuesday, that's a major blow for Celtic. And it's a major blow for the remainder of today, because, as I say, for the first 15 minutes of this game, we were on about Rangers and how dull the game was. This is equally dull.
Yeah, a bit more from Roger. He said that, he was walking at pace, so it doesn't seem to be any sort of leg injury or lower body injury, and looked quite unhappy. Although apparently now coming back.
Maybe you just need a comfort break.
You've done that before.
Yeah, I've done that before.
Well, it's his shoulder. You can see
it's definitely his
shoulder gone.
Yeah.
So I don't think, Celtic have to be mindful of the fact that he needs an operation on that shoulder. It caves in on him far too often, and if you leave him on the park, he'll do himself an injury.
Yeah, well, huge cheers from the Celtic support as he comes back out. So
I can't believe he's come back.
We'll see if he is going to continue or not. It's a is an interesting one, especially when, is that too much of a risk for Celtic to continue to play him in this game if he's already feeling bother?
Yes, because as Gordon Dalziel has rightly said, he looks in agony, and you're just asking for trouble. And Celtic in the transfer window went on and on and on about it, signing someone as backup for Kyogo, and Celtic didn't do it. And I'm sorry, but who may very well come on at some stage, is nowhere near the player that Kyogo is.
I'll tell you what, Celtic have gone close. They've hit the post after Kyogo has re-emerged from the tunnel as well, so they are trying to create a bit of danger now.
Well, not before time, but this is a mess of a start, because if Kyogo does have to go off, you can add that to all of the other long-term injuries: Abada, Carter Vickers, Stephen Welsh, Naravsky. It's a very messy start to the season for Celtic, and as I say, Celtic minus Kyogo means Celtic minus.
So is he back
threat.
on? Andrew, just clarify, is he back on?
Yep, looks like it.
That's very strange, that.
Yeah.
Roger was telling us the pain that he was in. It's a strange one whether taking a chance on that. He must feel okay to carry on just now.
Roger was telling us the pain he was in. How does Roger know how much pain?
Well, he's
Dr. Rog.
Yeah,
Rog, man, he's sore just now, but how sore is it?
Yeah.
Can you describe to
Are
me?
you giving it a few ayers here?
What about Scott McTominay back in the side at Man United, Hugh?
And Brighton 1-0 up against them. Danny Welbeck with the goal. There's also a goal for Louis Moult. Dundee United 1-0 up against Morton. Stenhouse Muir are leading against Stranraer as well. Matthew Aitken from the penalty spot for them.
They are rubbish. I told you, Ten Hag he'll be Christmas.
Think he'll be for the chop?
Yeah, he'll be the Christmas turkey.
There's all sorts of problems there at United.
Yeah, he's having these problems there.
Just that one a few moments ago of Celtic hitting the post. It was Matt O'Reilly from the edge of the box, actually took a pretty big deflection, looked as if it was maybe going towards the bottom corner, but ended up coming off the post.
The only thing it's really missing, see the amount of great positions Riley gets himself into. A combination of maybe off the post, good goalkeeping, bad finishing. I think he's got more goals in his locker, I've got to say.
Yeah, I would agree. He gets into good positions, but just needs to brush up on finishing from time to time.
He said himself after the St Johnstone game, didn't he, that he felt he could have scored 2 or 3 himself in that match.
Yeah, and a lot of people were labelling lazy finishing, but sometimes just the technique and the way you look, it looks like a lazy approach. It's not that when he's putting in the top corner in the first day of the season. People weren't really saying he was lazy there, or he scored away against Aberdeen, didn't he?
He's an indecisive finisher. The chances against St Johnstone were ready-made chances. Each of them should have been a goal, and it was so lackadaisical.
He'll be hoping to make up for that today, Hugh.
Well, I'm telling you, this has got St Johnstone written all over it.
Well, 20 minutes in.
20 minutes.
That's a lot longer than usual. I was expecting that.
On the day of the St Johnstone game, you kept telling me, there's a goal coming. Definitely a goal coming.
Yeah.
This is every bit as dull as a Rangers game.
In the last 5 years, one right, I thought, brilliant.
First effort at goal for Motherwell, 20 minutes in. Blair Spittle. It was a free kick 25 yards out. Struck it well, but it was straight at Zach Hemming.
Do you know we're going for 4 league wins in a row today, right? And the last man to do 6, who do you think it was?
For Motherwell?
Yeah.
6 wins in a row
in the league.
Billy Davis.
The man that's in the opposition dugout this afternoon.
Oh, Stephen Robinson. Right, okay.
There you go, Fraser. I'm giving you a few stats there. That'll probably throw into his wee half-time boring team.
He has just said this game is dull.
I'm trying to liven him up there.
Do you think this has got anything to do with the 2-week international break? Because Celtic Park's dull, McDermott Park was dull, Fraser says it's dull where he is.
Seems relatively lively between Hearts and Aberdeen, at least, and Hibs have started well against Kilmarnock.
Well, I was at the Motherwell Golf Day. I've spoken to a few of the players. They were very, very.
Who were you playing? Who was in your team?
Motherwell Golf Day was me, that never played with Motherwell. Gordon Duncan, that never played with Motherwell. Kenny Miller that never played with Motherwell, and a big centre half, fantastic player, great servant to Motherwell. You remember this guy, Brian Martin?
Big buff.
Big buff.
Yeah.
Oh, no prisoners buff.
Oh, no.
No prisoners buff. Does that sound okay? We were rubbish. But it was a good day, and it was great to see them. The manager.
Windy day.
I was, very windy, especially downwind. There to see some of the players and have a wee chat. It was great day.
Hugh, do you want to give us that teaser again?
Yes, indeed. Very, very simple and straightforward. Tell me the last 8 Scots to have played in Serie A.
We've got them, Hugh. They're all there, so.
Yeah, I tell you what.
Tick the box.
The listeners out there are doing very well. I'm not seeing many wrong answers at all. If any wrong answers at all, it's good work out there.
Simple stuff.
Yeah, Hugh.
Yeah. You're all
there
there.
you go.
Although I will say a lot of people out there are only giving 7 answers and not 8. Make sure you get all 8 in your tweet so that you can get on that podium.
Dale and his colleague have got it.
And remember that Kyle Lafferty is not one of them.
Oh, Hugh, just excuse him. He got a bit excited.
4-1, Spartans 0. Seb Ross with the goal for them. Fraser also says thanks for the golf invite, Daz. Just 250 games for Motherwell he's got.
Brilliant. That's when you know nobody really think. The great Willie Pettigrew was there. They were players. No Wishart, long throw in Wishart.
Does Fraser play golf?
No, croquet or whatever it is.
Imagine him with the +4s on it. If he was a golfer, the old bonnet on, tweed, elbow
200
pads.
all games for Motherwell.
He didn't get an invite.
Because
by the way, I even got an
Fraser.
invite and I turned it down.
Oh, no.
I couldn't
That's
make
even
it.
worse.
Sorry, Fraser.
Don't get me wrong.
That means he wasn't on the standby list as well.
Don't get me wrong. When I did get the phone call, it was please don't mention to Fraser. keep it under wraps.
Arbroath 1, Airdrie Onions 0. Michael McKenna with the goal. Airdrie have been going well so far in the championship after being promoted.
What a run they're on.
Well, what a turnaround, because it started poorly.
They went down to, was it Capello last week and won as well. They're on a good run, Arbroath. Difficult place to go. You think of the weather up there today, it'll be a nightmare to go and play.
Do you know what the weather is like up there?
Yeah, very windy, light rain, drizzle coming in from the North Sea. Is it the North Sea up there? Is it?
Hi.
Yeah,
Aye.
there you go.
Good guess.
There's a big tanker going by as we speak.
There's always tankers out there, isn't there?
Cheesy peeps, man. Cheesy peeps. Oh God, I wish I could listen myself.
I don't even know what that means.
No, I was sitting in the house with a wee cup of tea listening to this programme, enjoying it.
If we get to half time at Celtic and it's still nothing each, will you concede that I am halfway to being right?
You have. I'm not even going to put up an argument. I think that I was expecting Celtic to come out the traps today at home.
Yep.
As I say, look, I've had a little go at Rangers in the fact of the entertainment value, but they got the 3 points. Probably same with Celtic, but I'm expecting more off of these two teams because they've spent a lot of money. They've got big time players. Fans are going along. I'm all for the fans. Fans are going along. They're paying a lot of money.
Fan of the fans.
Diesel now's 159. Some garages you go to a litre. So it's important that you put on a show. That's all I'm saying.
Always comes back to the money with you, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Honestly, I'd do it in for money. I wouldn't do it in for nothing now. Their days are gone. Money only.
He's been doing a lot of charity work recently.
Oh, yeah.
Abseiling and golf days. Yeah. All for nothing. All for the kids of the west of Scotland.
An equaliser for Spartans against Forfar. Michael Allen with the goal for them. Montrose 2-0 up against Edinburgh City as well. Miller Thompson just before the half-hour mark. So goals going in down the divisions, not too many to tell you about. In the top flight, Hibs 1-0 up away to Kilmarnock, and of course it is Nick Montgomery's first game in charge. Hearts 1-0 up against Aberdeen, still goalless between Motherwell and St Mirren. Fraser Wishart not giving that one a great review so far, but we do have a goal at Celtic Park.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Celtic 1, Dundee 0, and it's Dies in Maida. However,
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
There's going to be a VAR check because the flag went up.
Ooh.
So we will see if this one stands or not. The lines will be drawn, and Brendan Rodgers will have to wait to see whether his side have gone 1-0 up against Dundee.
Well, like we said earlier on, the Rangers game, the lines are drawn for a reason. They don't lie, so he'll have to wait patiently. But he could be doing with a goal to settle the nerves and liven things up. Like, I've been there loads of times where you're longing on the pitch for that early goal just to settle everything and make you more relaxed, and quite often a second and a third come after that. It's a difficult place to play in days like this when it's 0-0 and you're grinding and things aren't quite going for you, and by the sounds of it, that's the way it's happening at Celtic Park at the minute.
What's our insight information coming from
Roger said because he can tell pain threshold of players. Surely he can
no
tell.
Update yet. The lines are still being drawn.
Tell him just to move that head to the right and have a look for us to see if it was offside or not.
You're unfair in Rogers' head. By the way, I was sat beside him on Tuesday. He's got a lovely tan about it. Oh, very nice colour.
Couldn't see the screen.
By the way, did you see Beat the Pundit? You wouldn't have seen it because you were golfing. You believe he had the night off to go golfing, and Beat the Pundit, Roger kept his headphones on,
closes his eyes.
No, I was doing Beat the Pundit. So you know when I'm doing Beat the Pundit, you would take your headphones off and listen to Gordon read the questions to the guy and his answer. Roger kept his headphones on, listening to music.
That's a strange individual, Roger.
Maybe he just wants to sort of take you on in real time, wants to do it at the
that
same time as you.
That's his challenge.
But it put me off, Andrew, because I thought I was then facing Roger. I felt judged by him.
Still waiting, I think, to see a verdict on whether this is to stand or not. It was Dyson Maida that was played through into the box. It was a left-footed strike, hammered it low into the far corner.
One of my friends that's at the game says it's absolutely offside by a mile. By a mile.
You're trying to show off you've got friends.
What's your friend's name?
Okay, I don't know what Tony Dock in the Dundee dugout is doing with a mobile phone at this moment in time, but
well, if they do chalk it off, it's back to the drawing board. That Celtic could have used the comfort of that goal because they haven't played particularly well. But if they do chalk it off, back to square one.
It's taking a long time.
Yeah, this has been a long check. Surely Roger's got some sort of update for us.
Get the lines.
Nothing at the moment, anyway.
I think this is a frustrating thing.
No goal at Celtic Park. It's ruled out and it remains 0-0.
My insider was right. So there you go. My buddy was right. Good decision.
Well, it's a strange old day for Celtic. First half hour, not a lot. And now the disappointment of a disallowed goal. And Kyogo with this, is he injured or not? And he's still on the park and they're still risking an injury.
What's happened then when Kyogo's gone up the tunnel? I mean, a shoulder injury, surely he's not at the position that he needs a physio just to go up the tunnel and pop it back into place. I've heard that's incredibly painful. Maybe he just doesn't want to share that with everyone on the pitch. But if it's got to that stage, then Hugh's right. That's problematic. You can't have a player running that risk every game he plays. Because I don't know, did he fall in it, or did someone, or was it just innocuous that he just went off? If it's just innocuous, then he's in a bit of bother.
I mean, they must feel confident enough that he's okay to continue, especially when Celtic have big games coming up midweek away to Feyenoord on Tuesday night.
He's went off in the early stages of games and then he's been ready to play the following week, which always surprised me. So it seems to be a quick fix, but it's something that's going to keep cropping up.
It must have popped out, Mark. He's not walked up the tunnel and then just decided to walk back down it, unless he's had treatment or something.
It's supposed to be so that when you dislocate it and somebody pops it back in, if it keeps coming in.
I don't know. I'm a bit concerned about that.
Yeah, it was a good start to the game for you. Taro Oda at Hearts, he got the opening goal. However, he's gone down injured and he's off. Alan Forrest is having to come on for him.
That would have been a story, mate, that was.
But anyway, the Hearts will be delighted. Full house at Tynecastle. But the fans are really getting edgy about the progress or lack of progress being made under Stephen Naismith and Frankie McAvoy. So Hearts could really use a result today.
Football management, it's a funny game. Barry Robson takes over and he goes on a terrific run and everything seemed rosy. It then seemed like he'd compiled a good squad while keeping Miovski and Duke in there, and within the space of 4 weeks, you know, there's a totally different look in it. Out of Europe, you know, and
we'll
bad
lose,
result after
we'll lose
bad result.
between 4 and 5 managers every year now in the Premier League.
And it's only gone up, isn't it? Every year it's gone up and up and up.
It's incredible. You're getting absolutely no time whatsoever. I feel for them, but they know the pressures of the job. They know that it's all about winning. It's all about picking up these 3 points, keeping yourself at the top of the league, or that top 6 gives you a chance. Except if you're Livingston, all you have to do is survive every year, and they're brilliant at it. You've got to say, and you've got to give them all the credit in the world with the budget they've got. So
speaking of him, has Davey fixed that bus yet?
Yeah,
are they there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, game has kicked off. By the way, still 0-0.
He's not in the dugout. He's out giving a service.
Overalls, oil over his face.
He's under the bonnet. Start it now. Rev it up.
Arbroath 2, Ayers Row 0. It's Jermaine Hilton with a goal, former Motherwell player. I wonder if he was invited to the golf day ahead of Fraser.
I think everybody was invited. Listen, I've been there. You're a hero of a football club and you don't get invited to big functions. I've been there. It happened to me.
And sometimes it's your own doing, isn't it?
I've let it go.
Go on, call them it.
Who? That lot, that's all I call him.
He's fuming, Andrew. Doesn't get invited to anything
by the way,
from here.
And I hope Hannah's listening us to tell that whatever his name is,
the chairman.
I think my name was in the list. Know where they were putting me last night? The most successful manager in the history of the club. Cup finals, league semi-finals, beat the old.
Are you saying the Thistle End?
No, they were sending me with the family bit right away up it next to their fans on the right hand side. Not even a cup of tea.
Also, by the way, how can you complain when you've asked someone for a favour to get a ticket and then not bothered showing up as well?
I read them like a book.
Listen,
I read them like a book.
What are they putting you in the family
section? They were putting a legend on the club. Not even in the director's box or anything. Amazing. I would not get near the place there.
So why have they got such a problem with you?
Because I was too successful. I built it up too big, and nobody can carry the can. Nobody can carry that on.
I bet someone at the club is thinking, we've done a nice thing and offered him a ticket for this game, and here we go, and now he's on there slating them.
They probably don't even know who he is. Probably the secretary's like,
just
Gordon
go to the
Dalziel
board and have a look at the successful managers you've had in the history.
What have you got to
Look,
your name
I've
there?
never taken a team into relegation and obviously into the Highland League. I've never
I done that.
Oh, you did.
I was long gone by then.
A vote saved you. A vote saved you from going to.
No, we were going to finish strong. We had six games to go. We were going to finish strong.
A game.
But what did you win it here? Seriously, what honours?
I won the. I won the League One when I went in my first year. I finished second in the Championship.
Right, we didn't ask you for settings. Didn't ask you for settings.
What did you win? To 2 semi-finals and a cup final.
What did you win?
Nobody else has done. It doesn't matter. It's not about winning. It's about leading.
What did you win? League One? Is that it?
You won the Scottish Second Division in the 96-97 season, and then everything else is runner-up.
No way.
Listen,
you claim to be their most successful manager.
I went to League Cup final on a Sunday, Scottish Cup semi-final on a Saturday.
Well done. 6 days. That's good. That's a couple of busy days for you.
You went to Forth for a derby.
Listen, I'm not comparing
I was
yourself
in there with the big teams.
You were giving
I was in with the big teams.
You were giving it. You were the most successful manager. You won League
Cup
One
finals, everything. I was at what we'd have
I would
promoted.
be embarrassed if I was him, Andrew.
We'd have been promoted if
no wonder he's in the family stand.
Family stand. I didn't even know they had a family stand. I was there for 9 years.
See, that's the problem. See, it's not connected to the fans.
Please, Andrew.
Relegated Partick.
Let there be a goal somewhere, Andrew.
Exactly.
Yeah, Ricky Little's been sent off for Arbroath. They went 2-0 up against Airdrie. However, that could change the landscape of things. There's a goal for Kane Hester as well for Montrose. They're 3-0 up already against Edinburgh City. And Cove have won back against Kelty Hearts. Mitch Megginson has made it 2-1 in that game. So Paul Hartley's side fighting back at the moment.
Edinburgh City having a rough ride at this season.
Minute they changed their name downhill.
They change it every year, didn't they?
Next week it'll be M8FC. What was it last time? They changed it from?
I just caught the very end of what you were talking about there, and whatever joke you made did not even lead to any team, did not give any clue of who you could have been talking about.
Edinburgh City, what were they called?
It was FC Edinburgh,
and then they went to
back to Edinburgh City again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice of Roger. He says he'll make a couple of calls and get you a seat at the Glenafton Athletic dinner if you like.
Well, I'd be better thought over there.
You see, Roger is watching a dull game at Celtic Park. That's
he's
why
involved
he's
in the chat now. Roger's
that's why he's got time to indulge DL in his mad fantasies.
Yeah, he's there. He's texting that chairman and now going, he's no happy. He'll no be back.
I hope the lawyers aren't listening. But seriously though, folks, it's a worry for Celtic that they've gone a long time into this first half and we hear nothing from Celtic Park of a goal or other than the one that was chalked off for offside. So it appears to be one of those struggles, like the St Johnstone day.
Yeah, you just wonder whether that game will creep into the minds of the players that are on the pitch, the fans in the stands, that, you know, could potentially be one of those days. And look, Celtic may well go on to win this game 3-4-0.
Yeah.
But at the moment, 0-0, 40 minutes gone.
Well, you know,
haven't created too much.
In your mind's eye, you can sense it, that they haven't created very much. Kyogo's got this ongoing injury concern. You know, Michael Beale got battered from pillar to post for a fortnight. But if Celtic don't win this game today, Brendan Rodgers will be called to the stand as well.
I don't care. Even Celtic fans will be honest and say, start of the season, Celtic have not impressed.
No.
Let's be honest. We were critical of Rangers this afternoon, rightly so, because the performance was poor. But where Brendan Rodgers got away with it and get that bit of breathing space was obviously the 1-0 at Ibrox.
Yeah.
Now, apart from that, I've not looked at Celtic and thought, they look a real good team, the way they play football, everything about it. They have not impressed me at all.
Played Ross County, day one, scored 4 but lost 2. Supporters weren't particularly overjoyed by the display. Out of the Viaplay Cup at Kilmarnock, the 0-0 draw with St Johnstone. The Rangers game always covers a multitude of sins. If you can get a win over Rangers or vice versa, it alters the mindset of every supporter, and that Celtic fans have lived off that for the last 2 weeks and they've been overjoyed.
Here's one for you, Hugh. Sorry for interrupting. We listened to, and Rangers were winning 1-0 at half time, some boos. Wonder if the Celtic fans will react the same at Celtic Park this afternoon.
Don't think there'll be boos. I think there'll be the old grumble. But what you've got to say is, Hugh, you missed the Aberdeen game away that Celtic went and won. They won away at Ibrox. They scored 4 against Ross County. So while it's not been sparkling performances, apart from the St Johnstone game in league duty, they've got the job done. But Brendan, you know, I'm not foolish to say that's enough. Brendan Rodgers needs more from his side. But when you start the season with 2 games away at Ibrox and Pittodrie and you win both, you know, you've got some credit in the bank. But it's the home games that you're expected to create. And I just wonder if the bar is so high for last season that the fans are expecting similar, and that's their right because it was so good. But Brendan Rodgers a long way to go to bridging that gap, what we're seeing just now compared to last season.
Well, we're closing in on the half-time whistles around the ground, so let's wrap this up, Hugh.
The first half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
The last 8 Scots to have played in Serie A: Dennis Law, Torino; Joe Jordan, AC Milan and Verona; Graham Souness, Sampdoria; Liam Henderson, Verona and Empoli; Aaron Hickey, Bologna; Jack Henry, Cremonese; Lewis Ferguson, Bologna; and Josh Doig, Verona.
Well done out there, because loads of you got that right. But the 3 quickest: in third place, Robbie Boyd; in second place, Bobby Pollock; and in first place, it's Charlie Malagallo. So well done to you 3. You were quickest off the mark. And of course there will be a Who Am I in the second half as well for you to get involved in. Some late action. 4-1 Spartans 2. They've got a second Spartans. It's Blair Henderson with the goal for them. And
I would have loved to have played in Italy. Would you not have?
No. Spain was more my type
as
of
close to
football.
home as possible. Is that
Yeah,
best for you?
I like that Italy. I went to Italy. Everybody tells me go to Naples, best pizzas, worst pizzas I've ever tasted in my life. I will never be back for a margarita, let me tell you.
If I could have had one player's career, it'd be Liam Henderson. Got a league winners medal at Celtic. He got a Scottish Cup winners medal at Hibs. He goes and he plays in Verona and Empoli. He's adopted the language, the culture.
If
everything.
you could have one player's career in the world, you'd choose Liam Henderson.
Correct, yeah.
I think you maybe got to rethink that one.
No disrespect
to Liam. He's had a very good career. But of anyone in the world, Liam Henderson.
I like that. No, I'll
fair enough. No,
I'll summarise it. Scottish person's career, an ordinary Scottish person's career. I think Liam Henderson has done wonderfully well.
I'd be George Best. I'd like his career.
Which part of Scotland's he from?
Scottish, you didn't mention Scottish, didn't you?
No, I said all Scottish people.
Well, George played with Hibs, so adopt him.
A bit of a worry for Kilmarnock. Will Dennis, who's been very impressive for them in goal early on this season, he's off injured to be replaced by Kieran O'Hara.
Bo, things not going well for Derek at the minute. He would have hoped that international break would have got things back in track for him, but find it tough just now, and he doesn't want to go 3 games on the bounce without a win.
Yeah, all of a sudden you're looking down at that table. Hibs could leapfrog them, obviously playing Hibs this afternoon. So it's strange how football Derek come in for all the pats in the back and how good Kilmarnock were, and they were really got to be a good force, and we tipped them to be in the top 6. They're really struggling now, and especially if you're struggling at home, because I think last season on the road they weren't very good, were they? Their win percentage on the road wasn't good, so they depended on their home record, and it's not a hit. Look, there's still plenty of football to be played at Rugby Park. Let's not write them off yet, but I think Hibs will win that one.
Montrose 4, Edinburgh City 0. What a score just before half time.
I was just checking, Edinburgh City 0 points this season so far, and 4 down before half time.
What are you trying to say?
It just reminds me of my time in charge.
Just getting some Vietnam flashbacks there.
Could be another tracksuit in the charity shops.
Yep, look out a charity shop near you. Surely other managers have done that. I mean, the need for stuff in shops,
suits and all that.
Why would you throw it? Aye.
What do you do with your club suit? Do you just take the badge off and wear it as a normal suit?
My club suit?
Usually the club suits are not bad.
By the way, I've still got my Celtic club suit.
Hugo Boss?
No, Ralph Lauren.
Oh yeah, you just peel the badge off of that.
No, I didn't even have a badge, so you could just wear it to all occasions, but a bit too rotund for it now. I can't fit into it.
Half time at Celtic Park. Roger Hanna's there.
Half time, Celtic 0, Dundee 0. No goals, but to answer what the boys were asking, no jeers either from the Celtic fans. It's been a frustrating first half for Brendan Rodgers' side. They had a good chance early doors. Dyson made a shot from close range, well saved by Trevor Carson on the Dundee goal. It was in a bizarre incident. Kyogo Furuhashi running down the tunnel to spark an injury scare just 3 days before the Champions League opener against Feyenoord in the Netherlands. I think the belief is he's injured that troublesome shoulder again. The Celtic medical staff followed him down the tunnel. He was off for 2 or 3 minutes before coming back out to bravely play on. Just moments after he came back on, Yang Hyung-jun, who's in for the injured Leela Bada, struck the post from distance. That was as close as Celtic came in the first 45 minutes. Yang giving a great battle down the Celtic right with Dundee's on loan Liverpool left back Owen Beck. And Beck's Anfield pound that Phillips. He's making his debut, of course, at the other end for Celtic. Really untroubled by Amadou Bakayoko. Dundee hardly seen as an attacking force, but quite comfortably defensively. They did have a scare when Maida had the ball on the net. A crisp finish past Trevor Carson. The flag went up just as Maida began his celebrations. It went to a VAR check and the goal was disallowed for offside by the VAR official Stephen Kirkland, confirmed by the on-field referee Grant Irvin. It's been a frustrating first half for Celtic. They won't want to get to St Johnstone territory 3 weeks after that stubborn stalemate against the Saints. Half time at Parkhead, Celtic 0, Dundee 0.
Also half time at Tynecastle between Hearts and Aberdeen. Dave Galloway.
Yep, half time. Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0 in front of a crowd of 18,626. Aberdeen started brightly. James McGarry's shot smartly parried by Zander Clark, and Bojan Majorski turned well in the box, however he was crowded out. Hearts though found their feet, and Keller Roos was forced to get down low to save Nathaniel Atkinson's shot. The home side took the lead. In the 14th minute, Liam Boyce found Yutaro Oda in too much space on the right. He lashed in with the aid of a slight deflection. The Dons went close through James McGarry's powerful effort, which Zander Clark turned round the post, but the Jam Tarts passed up a good chance to double their advantage when Alan Forrest, just on moments earlier for the injured Yutaro Oda, was picked out at the back post by Stephen Kingsley's cross. A goal looked highly likely, but he couldn't get nearly enough on the header, and the chance was gone. It's been a very keenly contested, close match here in the sunshine at Tynecastle. Not much in it, but at the interval, it's Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0.
Half time at Fir Park between Motherwell and St Mirren. Fraser Wishart.
Motherwell 0, St Mirren 0. A real disappointing first 45. Two teams in good form coming into the game, but there's been nothing to get us out of our seats here in terms of attacking play. A really cautious start by both sides. No real action around either goal until 28 minutes when Blair Spittle tested Zach Hemming with a 25-yard free kick. The midfield player struck the ball really well, but it went straight at Hemming. 27 minutes, he was again involved, Spittle, from open play this time. He hit a shot from almost the same area of the park. Again, he struck it well, but again straight at Zach Hemming in the goals. Motherwell dominating the play with really not creating too many chances. St Mirren rarely seen near Liam Kelly's goal until a half hour. Dennis Mugabe gave the ball away, and Conor McMenamin curled a left foot shot from 20 yards, a couple of feet over the bar, but that was the only real effort of the half. Blair Spittle had been outstanding, along with Callum Slattery in the midfield for Motherwell. He struck a lovely pass through to put Theo Bayer through on goal, inside right position. The big striker struck the ball well across Zach Hemming, but inches past the right hand post. But all in all, little in the way of a constructive football. Too many mistakes with the ball. They've been given away too easily, and it was Spittle again that was involved just as we approached the break. A lovely move from one end of the park to the other, involving O'Donnell, Bayer and Slattery, and Spittle set himself up for a left foot shot. His effort was brilliantly balked by Marcus Fraser. Motherwell better team, Liam Kelly nothing to do, but at the other end they haven't threatened the St Mirren goal often enough, and St Mirren happy to be level at the break, but they're going to have to play much better in the second half if they're going to get a point. If they don't, then you can only see Motherwell leaving here today with the 3 points in the bag. Half time at Fir Park, Motherwell 0, St Mirren 0.
And the whistle has gone at Rugby Park as well. Kilmarnock against Hibs. Michelle Evans.
Yeah, at half time here it's Kilmarnock 0, Hibs 1, so it's so far so good for Nick Montgomery's first game as Hibs boss. There was a bright start from his side from the kick-off. Kilmarnock managed to lose the ball. It was picked up by Martin Boyle, and the little Aussie ran unchecked towards goal, but Will Dennis came off his line to kick the ball away and clear the danger. Ball came close again shortly after in the 6th minute, forcing Dennis to push his shot over, but the Hibs fans didn't have to wait that long for the opener. Just 60 seconds later, again the Killie defence didn't deal with a corner. It was allowed to fly about the box. The ball eventually fell to Lewis Miller, who with his back to goal turned and fired it in off the post, although I think Dennis has been credited with touching it off the post as opposed to Miller putting it straight in. Yuan almost made it 2 in the 19th minute. Another mistake from Kilmarnock. He picked the ball up in the centre of the park and went on a meandering run, which saw him shoot just into the side netting. Killie's first chance of note didn't come until the 33rd minute. Matty Kennedy and Danny Armstrong working a really good corner. Armstrong's cross was sent headed goalward by Marley Watkins, but David Marshall managed to pluck it from the air just as it looked like it was about to fly into the net. Just before the break, Killie lost their keeper Will Dennis to injury. It looked like he's done something to his hip. They've now brought on Kieran O'Hara, and Hibs lost Christian Doidge to a little bit of the blood coming out, I think, at the side of his face. There was a bit of a clash in the middle of the park. Hopefully he'll get patched up at half time and come back on. I think it's Hibs who've definitely been the more impressive side here, albeit Killie have had a little bit of the ball, but as I say, only really one chance of note. So Hibs go into the break leading through Lewis Miller's strike. It's Kilmarnock 0, Hibs 1.
I'll give you a roundup of the scores across all 4 divisions next.
The team with the biggest support in Glasgow and the West. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Half time in the 3 o'clock kickoffs across Scotland. I'll give you an update on all the scores across the 4 divisions. It was an early game between St Johnstone and Rangers, and it was St Johnstone 0, Rangers 2. At half time it's Celtic 0, Dundee 0, Hearts 1, Aberdeen 0, Kilmarnock 0, Hibs 1, Motherwell 0, St Mirren 0, and just 42 minutes gone between Ross County and Livingston 0-0 in that game as well. In the Championship, Arbroath 2, Airdrieonians 0, Dundee United 1, Morton 0, Queen's Park 0, Dunfermline 0, Wraith Rovers 0, Inverness 0. In League 1, Annan 1, Stirling 0, Cove Rangers 1, Kelty Hearts 2, Falkirk 0, Queen of the South 0, Hamilton 0, Alloa 0, Montrose 4, Edinburgh City 0. In League 2, East Fife 1, Clyde 0, Elgin City 1, Dumbarton 0, Forfar 1, Spartans 2, Peterhead 0, Bonnyrigg Rose 0, Stenhousemuir 2, Stranraer 0. And in the English Premier League, it was Wolves 1, Liverpool 3 in the early kick-off. At half-time in the 3 o'clock games, Aston Villa 0, Crystal Palace 0, Fulham 0, Luton 0, Manchester United 0, Brighton 1, Tottenham 0, Sheffield United 0, and West Ham 1, Manchester City 0. We'll get the second halves up and running next.
The winning team all season long. This is Clyde One Super Scoreboard.
Second half's just getting underway around Scotland. Let's see if we can try and go back to Celtic Park. Are you back underway, Roger?
Not quite, Andrew. The teams are out. There is a change for Celtic at the break, but it is not Kyogo. He is out. He is fit. He is ready to start after that injury scare in the first half. Interestingly, the change is the introduction of Gustav Lagerbielke at the back. Nat Phillips, who made his debut in the first half after his loan move from Liverpool, is off. I don't know whether that's an injury or whether it's just he was only getting 45 minutes. He has had a couple of knocks in the time that he's been at the football club, but Phillips is off, Lagerbielke is on, and of course, most interestingly for all Celtic fans, Kyogo stays on the pitch after that scare in the first half. We're just underway again at Celtic Park.
Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Goal flashes. With M&D Green Pharmacy. Planning your holiday? Get essential health advice and medication before you travel.
Yes, back underway, and some interesting news there. I mean, we can only speculate as to why Nat Phillips has been taken off.
It's a very odd day altogether at Celtic Park. Kyogo wanders off the park, wanders back on. He looks as if he's in real trouble with the shoulder, and yet remains, and every minute he remains on that pitch increases the likelihood of the shoulder going again. Nat Phillips goes off. We're not sure whether that's a measure taken with Rotterdam in mind or what is going on. Lagerbielke on for the second half. All very peculiar. No Reo Hatate. I would have thought that he would have been my first second half substitution, because clearly they're halfway towards another St Johnstone result. No goals first half. One chalked off for being offside, but clearly Celtic struggling to put the ball in the net, and all sorts of peculiar things going on regarding Kyogo and Nat Phillips.
The Phillips one's interesting, Hugh, because if you look, I don't think he's played a lot of first team football since the turn of the year, so he may have just been feeling the pace or whatever it may be. They may just be looking after him. You're right. I think that the fans going along today would have been looking for a bit of entertainment, a bit of goals, a bit of quickness about their play. That may happen in the second half. We've seen it before, even under Postecoglou, and I know that sometimes that sort of a rod gets thrown at Brendan Rodgers. Well, with the way we played last year and fast flowing football, I watched a few games last year at Celtic, and it took to that second half before they really came alive. So, but they need a big improvement. They should be beating teams like Dundee.
As I say, we started the day going on and on about Michael Beale. Celtic can't afford another goalless draw against bottom half of the league opposition at Celtic Park in quick succession. St Johnstone got 0-0. Dundee are halfway towards getting 0-0. Celtic, you know, I do take Mark's point that they won at Pittodrie, they won at Ibrox, but you throw back at that argument, but didn't beat St Johnstone at Celtic Park, and so far can't beat Dundee at Celtic Park.
Ewan Henderson with a goal early in the half for Hamilton. They're 1-0 up against Alloa. A couple of changes for St Mirren, and Stephen Robinson 0-0 against Motherwell at the moment, but maybe not liking what he's seeing. Richard Taylor comes off, as does Caelan Boyd-Munce, and it's Keanu Bacchus and Charles Dunn that come on. But why don't we set this up, Hugh, before there are any goals in the second half?
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
I think this is tricky. I'm looking at Anton Beck here to see if they can get this one very quickly, but I have played alongside J. Emmanuel Thomas and Martin Cannon. I have been managed by Mixu Patalainen and Oran Kearney. I was once nominated for the SPFA Players Player of the Year, and I have scored at every level of international football from under 16 up. Who am I?
Do that again, Hugh.
Played alongside J. Emmanuel Thomas and Martin Cannon. Been managed by Mixu Patalainen and Oran Kearney. Once nominated for the SPFA Players Player of the Year, and I have scored at every level of international football from under 16s up. Who am I?
A lot of information in there, so if you want to see that written down, at Clyde SSB, and if you want to tweet us your answer, at Clyde SSB as well. Gordon Dalziel has just showed his guess to Hugh Keevins, and I have never seen Hugh make that face in my life before.
I just a plain simple.
Right, just tell Andrew who you guessed there, because nobody out there will guess this. I thought the same as you, Hugh, your facial expression.
A quick guess, I went for Michael O'Neill.
Michael O'Neill, think of the clues. Think
Played with J. Emmanuel Thomas.
Yeah.
Martin Cannon,
yes.
Where did Michael O'Neill play with Martin Cannon?
Managed by Oran Kearney. How much older is Michael O'Neill and Oran Kearney, by the way?
He was managed with him once.
Was
Michael O'Neill?
Yeah.
Are you who are you thinking?
I was only kidding.
Michael O'Neill is. So you're getting mixed up with Michael
He must
O'Halloran.
be a good few years older than Oran Kearney.
I want it again early.
Oh, you certainly did. Yeah.
I didn't listen to the full question, I've got to say.
Dunfermline 1-0 up away to Queen's Park. Lewis McCann with the goal for the visitors in that game. Also a goal for Odsonne Edouard and Crystal Palace. Had a good start to the season. Odsonne Edouard,
yeah, he's on fire. Roy Hodgson missing that match today because of illness.
Yeah, I did see that.
Hope everything's all right there.
Absolutely.
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Well, a free kick has been given to Celtic at the edge of the box. However, they're looking to see whether it's a penalty, and it is a penalty to Celtic.
Well,
so they have the chance from the spot.
Oh, well, who's
the penalty taker? Turnbull will be, surely. What not? Turnbull took the one. Was it the first game of the season?
Yeah.
So
will be David Turnbull to take.
I was right on the line, I take it, the foul, was it, Andrew?
Yeah, one of those right on the line, initially given outside the box. Of course, VAR check them just to make sure whether the contact was actually inside or continued inside the box.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Smashed down the middle by David Turnbull. Celtic 1, Dundee 0, and they do have the lead at Celtic Park.
And I said they should have taken Turnbull off at half time and brought on Rio Hatate. So, flawless record.
Yeah, it was David Turnbull that was originally fouled. It was initially given outside the box, but after a bit of deliberation, it had been looked at. I think Turnbull had just got his foot in there first, and the sort of back of his leg was kicked. Definitely inside the box, definitely a penalty, and David Turnbull dispatches for 1-0.
I'm delighted for Turnbull because, I think Hugh was not the only one who'd probably say, well, we want Hatate on. Who are you going to replace? Obviously Turnbull, and he's got his goal, and it was him that got the penalty kick as well. You've got to add that in. So delighted for him. Brendan Rodgers looking for a quick response. Certainly got it. Can they go on now and get a comfortable win and a comfortable afternoon?
Yeah, it's just a great time to get a goal, isn't it? 5 minutes after the break.
Well, for everybody involved, the players are looking for maybe somebody else, one of their big players, to step up and do something early in the game. But the manager, after he's had a chat with him, expects a response. When you get it within 5 minutes, then it's obviously very pleasing, and you just wonder how they're building that, because look, we spent a lot of today's game at McDermott Park saying that one wasn't enough and it wasn't entertaining, and there was the big gap in between that first goal and second goal needs to be better. It'll be interesting to see if Celtic can then produce better.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
A goal at Fir Park.
Yes.
Changes at half time for St Mirren.
To Motherwell.
It's Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1, and it's Scott Tanzer with the goal. It was a low left-footed volley at the back post. It was Ryan Strain with the cross, and St Mirren have the lead 10 minutes after the break.
Right, I thought you were sort of building that up there and said Motherwell.
I was keeping you guessing.
So St Mirren have taken
the lead. Scott Tanzer.
When he says,
when I say Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1, that'll probably do it.
I think you threw me there with that one.
Yeah, I called St Mirren. I fancied St Mirren strongly today. Started the season very well. They've just got a solidity about them.
Hold there.
1-1.
Maybe not.
Oh no. With M&D Green Pharmacy.
There's going to be a check for offside on that one.
I'll tell you what, the groundsman's very good there with the lines. Let me tell you right now, that's offside. Where's the Wishart man?
Don't start that debate with the lines and how accurate the.
Where's the Wishart man? Where's that 220 appearance man? What's he saying to you?
Don Robertson is the VAR, so they'll be drawing the lines at Clydesdale House to see whether St Mirren have in fact taken the lead or not.
Just take a line off my bedroom window, it just goes right along for and you'll get a good offside.
Things you never thought you'd hear said.
I think the less said about it, the better.
To
to be perfectly honest with
that
you.
sorry went quiet. That
goal
given.
St Mirren have the lead against Motherwell. St Mirren, I mean, there's obviously been a lot of talk about both teams. Maybe Motherwell have had a bit more of the spotlight over the last couple of weeks, but St Mirren just consistently so good under Stephen Robinson. At the moment, they have a game plan, they stick to it, and more often than not, they execute it very well.
Well, I don't know if I seen St Mirren the first game of the season at Easter Road, and I've got to say, bumper crowd was there, and they were excellent that day. And they did lose 2 slack goals, but they had the character to come back and score a winner against Hibs, and they've been excellent. The reason Motherwell get the spotlight is quite simple. Motherwell are sitting in second place just now. Okay, St Mirren, if that result stands, will leapfrog them. But Motherwell and St Mirren both have been excellent so far this season.
Stenhousemuir 3, Stranraer 0. It's a goal for Gregor Buchanan. What about the Seagulls, Hugh? 2-0 up at Old Trafford.
Pascal Gross. But I told you, Eric Ten Hag is a dud, and he will have to be got rid of by Manchester United. On and off the park, Manchester United are a shambles.
Just to be clear, you don't rate him? No. Okay, just double checking.
As they say in The Hague in Holland, Eric Ten Hag is a dud.
Is that what they say?
Yeah.
Or did you just make that up?
I just made it up.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, big goal for St Mirren, a chance for Dundee actually. McCowan wide, should have hit the target really. It was a good move by Dundee, their first real spell forward of
He's
the
been
match.
Good. McCowan so far this season, a terrific goal a couple of weeks back, but a good young player, real standout for them. Wonder how the boy Beck's doing. Gordon Duncan rightly pointed it, left back for Dundee, very much like Andy Robertson, the way he moves and the way he handles the ball.
Have you seen him? Have you seen him, Andrew?
Yeah,
He surprised me. I thought he was a double Andy Robertson. Mark calls him boss as well. Alright, Beck, call boss.
We're talking sort of Dundee United Andy Robertson days, are we?
Yeah. I remember those days. He was still learning his trade.
Did you ever model yourself on? What player did you model yourself on? You must have.
Me, Cafu.
Were you asking if he modelled his game off of Andy Robertson?
No.
Do you have any concept of what age anyone is? That's a running theme of today's show.
No, I didn't ask. If you open your ears a little bit there, Andrew, you will probably hear what I was trying to say.
Open your ears, Andrew.
I said
that's some advice.
I said, did you model yourself, and what player did you model yourself on?
Oh, who did I model myself on? I can't think.
Because a kid, you must have. Everybody.
Right, okay, you give me yours.
I was Dalglish.
You could not get further away from Kenny Dalglish.
King Kenny, King Gordon, King Kenny down Airbles Road, down the Duchy Park.
So what part of your game resembles King Kenny's.
Just the link up play, the goal scoring.
They both have two legs and two arms.
Yeah, I played against him. Played against my hero. Got to say,
right.
That was a learning curve. Played Liverpool at.
Did they say anything to you? Did they say you remind me of me when I was your age?
Honestly, I had my autograph book out in the tunnel, trying to get an autograph of him. Brilliant. Never get near him in the game. They were absolutely fantastic.
Couple of changes for Celtic. Rio Hatate coming on, and Lewis Palma.
That'll be a good one. Celtic fans interested to see him handed the number 7 jersey.
So who goes off to accommodate Palma then?
Just waiting to see at the moment.
Be Yang, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
Would it?
You would expect so.
Will he take Turnbull off, or will he? Because you can't see him taking O'Reilly, can you? I wonder how he's playing today.
Well, we're back
That's
in
your
that.
mate. You don't get a pal there.
It's only fair to say that Celtic are in the position that Rangers were in ever on today. At 1 up, you haven't finalised the deal. You know, they need to get a second goal, Celtic, and Dundee apparently went close a couple of minutes ago. So Celtic are in the position that Rangers were in a few hours ago.
An update from Dave Galloway at Tynecastle. It's something we've heard quite a few times. Duke goes down in the box, referee not interested.
He does go down very easily. Very easily. He's a terrific player, by the way. I'm surprised that Aberdeen were strong enough to keep a hold of him. I thought somebody might have tested their resolve in that one, and Miofsky, but well done to him for hanging on. But needs to stay on his feet, Duke.
The two players coming off, David Turnbull and Yang.
Yeah. Only natural, like for like.
I think there'll be a bit of criticism maybe in the early stages of this season of Celtic and their set piece deliveries. Lewis Palma, that's very much his, not his full game, but he's certainly considered a set piece specialist.
I think they need somebody in there. Now Turnbull, of course can deliver, but I wouldn't call him an expert. I wouldn't say when Celtic get a free kick in around the box, or Turnbull's got a chance here, very few would he put in. It lacks in the delivery for corner kicks. Very few goals from corner kicks for a Celtic persuasion, and people always label that at the height or people attack the ball. But if you get the delivery spot on, how many times you see at Rangers with James Tavernier, then it causes panic in the opposition box. So if he can bring that to Celtic, then it's another plus point for Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, we'll see if Lewis Palma goes straight on to set pieces or not. Morton have equalised against Dundee United. Robbie Muirhead with the goal. Is the comeback on for Edinburgh City? 4-1 now. Lee Hamilton has a goal.
Only
half an hour to go.
Those players walk off maybe, but not a chance. At least they've scored.
Yeah, so first glimpse of Lewis Palma for these Celtic supporters. They'll be really happy to see Rio Hatate as well, though, given just how good he was last season. Has had a disrupted start to this campaign, was maybe out of favour at the start of the season by Brendan Rodgers, then picked up an injury. They'll be hoping that he can really kickstart his campaign now.
Reading Brendan Rodgers this morning and saying that things were now settled, the transfer window closing obviously helps that, and he's maybe just had a rethink, part contract talks, put that in the back burner for the time being. And he needs to go on with his football. He needs to get back in the Celtic starting lineup, and of course injuries hampered that, but the injury's now away. He needs to now make this position his own and start playing like he did last season, because he was a standout midfielder in Scotland. But talk about McGregor's just consistent, but Hatate made things happen, and he was a joy to watch.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It's all going well for Nick Montgomery. Kilmarnock 0, Hibs 2. It's Dylan Venta with the goal this time, and looks as if he's on his way to 3 points in his first match in charge.
You cannot ask better than that. He left out a Hibs great in Paul Hanlon for today's game, and Dylan Vente, who I take it came off the bench to score that goal.
I think there was a late change to the starting lineup for Dylan Vente. I'll double check that, but I believe there was a late change.
But you just cannot better that. Get a nice convincing away win. There's a big Edinburgh derby coming up first week in October. Nick Montgomery, he's not that experienced a manager. He's at about 60 games as a manager.
Bit of a strange one. Hibs actually tweeted the starting lineup, the graphic that you normally see with the starting 11 with Adam Lafondra in the starting lineup, and then tweeted afterwards, correction, Dylan Vente starts, Adam Lafondra's on the bench. So it's not as if Lafondra's dropped out the squad. So I don't know whether it's someone in the media team has got it wrong. But either way, Dylan Venter started and he's got his goal.
Could be a mistake, Andrew. You should know that. You've made plenty of them yourself throughout your career. But it's not about the team sheet, the mistakes. It's all about the 3 points, and that would be a terrific start, would it not? And I think they're home game St Johnstone next week. Am I right in that? So you'd fancy them to get off to a real good start. Momentum's everything. It would lift them up that league a little bit.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
No worries about his shoulder. Celtic 2, Dundee 0, and it's Kyogo with the goal. A close range header. The ball was dinked in from the right, flashed that header past Trevor Carson. Dundee were down to 10 men at the time. Bakayoko was hurt, and Celtic made the most of it.
Well, real concerns first half, because Kyogo went off up the tunnel and looked to be in severe pain with that shoulder injury. But as I say, no Kyogo, no threat for Celtic. I mean, the goal at Ibrox, sensational. Now he's got another one, and if they are to have any hopes in the Champions League, they need Kyogo there.
Yeah, it's what he's there for. Leads the line well, scores goals there when his team needs him, and today no different. And fair play to him, because if he has got a problem with that shoulder, we have seen him going off early in games, but he obviously thought today it was fixable and he was willing to graft, and he's got his goal.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
I said it was all going well for Nick Montgomery. However, Kilmarnock have won back. Kilmarnock 1, Hibs 2. Kyle Vassell gives Kilmarnock a lifeline and back in that game. So it's not going to be plain sailing for Nick Montgomery at Rugby Park.
Have we gone too early? Have we gone too early with a fantastic start?
I also said there may be a comeback in the Montrose Edinburgh City game, but Montrose scored again instantly and it's 5-1.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
big goal for Kilmarnock though at Rugby Park, because
massive.
they had obviously maybe struggled in the last few weeks after a good start to the season, but Derek McInnes will be hoping that they can really test that Hibs backline now.
Yeah, certainly will. Try and put a bit of pressure on. Still plenty of time to go. Games usually finish round about 5:15 nowadays. So that's...
Tell you what, the games can keep coming because the goals are.
Oh, yes.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0. Liam Boyce with the tap-in, and they now have doubled their advantage at Tynecastle. And in that game that we said both teams could really do with all 3 points, it looks as if it's going to be Stephen A. Smith's side.
Barry Robson very quickly will come under pressure, because this will be Aberdeen remaining joint bottom of the table. They haven't had any kind of start to the season. They've got Eintracht Frankfurt away in the Europa Conference League next Thursday, and I know that he had a good start to management life in Aberdeen, but it's all gone wrong.
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Hold that thought.
Check for a possible offside for that goal for Liam Boyce. So we will see whether it is 2-0, but very quickly given. So it is 2-0. Hearts. Celtic looking rampant now. Alistair Johnson with a shot, that one coming off the bar. They'll be looking to extend that lead, make it a convincing one.
Much better second half from Celtic. Brendan Rodgers, whatever he said at half time, and John Kennedy and the backroom team, it's obviously working. It always helps when you get a goal early into the second half. And again, I'll go back to what I said in the first half, that you start to relax on the pitch. You start, confidence levels go up. And when you've got guys like Kyogo and the quality run about you, you've got guys like Palmer coming off the bench, and it's only going to go one way for you.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
It is only going one way for Celtic. Celtic 3, Dundee 0. Matt O'Reilly with the goal this time guides that one home, and plain sailing for Celtic and Brendan Rodgers.
You see,
he just looked at me.
You get a bit of life about you.
I love the way you dress this up, Hugh.
This could be anything now, says Roger Hanna.
It's amazing what going back to that, what that goal does, just settles you down, and things suddenly start clicking into place. The passes go where they're intended to go. Runners seem to start to go beyond the striker. Gaps open up, and they're exploiting it, Celtic.
And it really takes the steam out of Dundee as well. When it is only one goal, they've got that sort of psychological thing in the back of their head that they could get back into this game when it goes 2, when it goes 3,
you're
with
wanting
20,
off the pitch.
25 minutes.
When it goes 3, the first thing you do as a player and manager, you look at the clock.
I thought you were going to say look at the dugout and try and get taken off.
Oh, I've been there. You look at that clock and think, oh, can't wait till that says 90 plus.
What am I having for dinner? I wonder.
Well, it's a long
afternoon.
It's a long afternoon.
I'm not even joking. Sometimes I was on there thinking, I can't wait to a Chinese tonight. Just get this done with.
Well, I have the prawn crackers.
Well, a standing ovation from the Celtic Park crowd for Kyogo, who makes his way off the park, and it will be O that comes on to replace him.
Well, there's no point in having the risk of injury there with Kyogo. He will certainly be needed in Rotterdam on Tuesday, and every game thereafter. But Celtic will one day have to address this shoulder problem and have to get an operation for him. But right now, he's invaluable.
I think that'll be done to the player here. I think they would have said to him, "What do you want?" And it boils down to it. It is down to the player. If he says, "Listen, I'm fit and I'm happy to go as long as I can until the end of the season, get this sorted," then so be it. We're hearing about the Matt O'Reilly goal, very similar to some of these chances he missed against St Johnstone.
Final act of the game for Kyogo, really, wasn't it? Cutting it back for Matt O'Reilly.
But it goes to show you fine margins. You know, St Johnstone goalkeeper saving a couple of those today. Matt O'Reilly finishing that one. So it's turned out a good afternoon, a comfortable afternoon for Celtic in the end. Sticky first half, but improvements in the second.
I told you about O'Reilly. Gets his cell into brilliant positions. His timing's very, very good for a midfield player. Gets himself in there, very hard to pick up. He just needs to, for him to be, he is a very, very good footballer, let's be honest about it. But just to go that next step, the way he plays, the way he gets into good positions, he's comfortable with the ball at his feet. If he adds goals to his game, which he's capable of doing, he can go anywhere.
They rejected, was it £10 million they rejected?
Yep.
From Leeds.
Yeah.
So that shows you the level that he's thought of down south, and he could go even further.
I mean, you look at his past 2 seasons in terms of goal scoring: 4 in his first season at Celtic, 4 last season at Celtic. He seems to be getting into more goal scoring positions now with the way that Brendan Rodgers is utilising.
I think, well, we hear Brendan Rodgers when he came in first time around, he gave people targets, specific individual targets to hit, and I think the players relish that when they know what they're working towards. I think Matt O'Reilly will be a prime example of that. I think he would have sat him down and seen the positions he gets in and says, "Listen, you probably need to get in double figures this season." And he started the right way, but it's about putting himself in those positions. Now, he's not going to take them all every chance, but as long as he takes, you know, the odd one here and there, he'll end up in double figures before the end of the season.
Hugh, let's get some wrong answers on this teaser. Can you read it out again?
Difficult.
I have played alongside J. Emmanuel Thomas and Martin Canning. I've been managed by Mixu Patalainen and Oran Kearney. I was once nominated for the SPFA Players Player of the Year, and I have scored at every level of international football from under 16s up. Who am I?
I think Mark and Gordon are struggling, and quite a few out there struggling as well. Stephen Slater says Connor Salmon.
No.
Alistair Gill and Josh Thompson both say James McFadden.
Oh, I just wrote that down there.
Max is going for Stephen Fletcher.
Don't bother.
Slinky Jerry goes for Kyle Lafferty.
No.
Paul Nimmo says Lewis Morgan.
No.
Milo Lorimer says Alex Gogic.
No.
Gary Shields has gone for Glenn Kamara.
Did he win that Player of the Year?
Nominated.
Right, that puts me out then. I've got to go for somebody else.
Just nominated.
No.
There is, I can see at least one right answer out there.
What is it?
Not falling for that.
It is very difficult.
3 changes for Aberdeen as they look to get back into the game at Tynecastle. Barron, Gay and Sockler replace McGrath, Clarkson and Miovski. Something had to change for Barry Robson there.
As I say, you know, European results not the best. Eintracht Frankfurt, potential horror story for him midweek. Joint bottom of the Premiership table tonight. We talk about the Celtic game at Pittodrie. I mean, Celtic really were all over them, and it's not been good for Barry Robson. And I don't think he's taking it seriously enough. You know, he keeps saying it'll be fine, I know where we're going? No, you clearly don't.
How do Aberdeen view this game midweek? Because when things are going well and you've got European matches, they're great occasions for the fans to be able to go and, you know, travel Europe and see your team, but they can be an unwanted distraction, can't they, when things aren't going well domestically?
Possibly.
And no one's expecting Aberdeen to get any results. However, if you're on the end of some hidings, then it really doesn't complement things well.
No, but I think for teams who are used to being in Europe year after year, and things aren't going well, it could maybe become a distraction. But I think for Aberdeen, when you've been starved of European football over the years, then I think European football at any level is a bonus. I think the fans will relish it. I think the players will relish the opportunity of playing European football, and Barry as well, even though he is going through a tough time, because Hugh rightly says it could be bad. However, the flip side of that coin is if you go and actually do well, it might just be the catalyst to kickstart your season. So we'll see how they go, but it's not going well for Barry. He's got a good squad of players and he needs to get better at them.
A Celtic debut for Paulo Bernardo, who will introduce himself to the Celtic crowd. Matt O'Reilly, just moments after making it 3-0, makes way.
Again, that's with Rotterdam in mind, you have to think. And also 3-0, you're comfortable, you're home and hosed. You can let the crowd have a look at another new signing, and they'll enjoy that very much.
Speaking of 3-0, Hugh, Seagulls at Old Trafford, 3-0 up.
Tell you what, you might not be wrong.
Hey.
3-0 at home at Old Trafford.
That's a sacking result.
Well,
I don't see any way back for Manchester.
I've got to say, right, please gamble responsibly. I put a coupon on, I put Brighton to win today, but that tells you the story of Man United. That's not a big shock really for me,
but you know, he's getting everything wrong off the park as well. Ten Hag.
Wish Man United would score right enough for me. They all both teams to score.
I'll tell you what, they have. Hannibal Mejbri just scored. Right, Manchester United won, Brighton 3.
Another 6 teams now.
Why don't you keep
by the way,
quiet?
the timing of that could not have been more impeccable. As you said, I need Manchester United to score. They've scored. Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham 1-0 down at home to Sheffield United as well.
For manager of the year.
Yeah, manager of the
Of
month.
course, though, as talking about any coupons, please gamble responsibly.
Of course, yeah.
Don't look at my coupon.
I read.
Especially that spot in my beak that I got pelters for the other night on the camera.
You need to get a bit of cream in that.
Sun cream. There being about a litre of cream put on that.
Dip it in a bucket of cream.
I still can't fill it.
No goals in the last few moments. Where could there be? I mean, there's still a bit of time. We're going into the last 15 minutes or so. There's still time possibly for
Motherwell,
a bit of late drama. Just 1-0 up.
There's
And of course Kilmarnock and Hibs as well. Ross County 1-0 up against Livingston. There's a goal for Simon Murray, and he's put them 1-0 up in that later kick-off.
They're looking good, Ross County. Ever since the first day of the season at Celtic Park, looking good. It was him that scored down at Rugby Park, wasn't it? With a header. So when you've got White and you've got Murray up front and you've got Danda delivering the way he does, you've always got a chance of scoring goals.
And Damon Brophy,
who's having to, be the backup act to those two. But Malcolm Mackay signed well in that January window.
Couldn't tell you.
Because Livingston have lost the most amount of goals in the Premier League from set plays.
Mysterious stat 2 from Daz today. No idea where you pull these the most random stats ever played.
Hold on. And do you know that the lad Danda that you're talking about has produced the most from free kicks?
Produced the most?
Yeah.
Produced the most what?
Goals from free kicks.
As in setting them up, scoring them?
Setting them up.
Okay, there we go.
Good knowledge. That's what the people tune in for.
That's why you're here. That's
so
why
people
you're
in their car right now are
Look,
thinking,
these guys are getting sent to games. They're not doing their homework. It's about time they get pulled up. I'm having to do a double job, only get paid 1 week's wages.
We've not even got anyone at Ross County Livingston.
Send him to Ross County next week, Andrew.
That's a good point, actually. If you fancy being our Dingwall correspondent, I'm more than happy to set that up.
Why don't we get out to a game? That's what we should do. Get sent out to a game.
No, the winter days are coming in, Mark.
Take a wee heater, flask of soup.
Calm your jets. I've been in that camp. It's not very good out there.
Hearts looking good against Aberdeen. If any goal is to go in there, it looks as if it will be a third for Hearts, because it must be worrying for Barry Robson, but this will be a good win for Stephen A. Smith and Frankie
Needed
McAvoy
it.
if they can get it.
Needed it. The way results have been going recently for them, and performances not been good enough. Motherwell going there and beating them. Fans again voicing their opinions. But by the way, it's not easy for any manager out there, because you get 2 bad results and you're immediately under pressure. The landscape's just changed so much now with football ownership and managers. It's hard to survive. So, but they're all aware of it when they go in. They know what they're getting into. Doesn't make it any easier though when you're standing on the touchline taking the flak.
And Nick Montgomery is getting the full test today. He's got the test, first of all, of going to Rugby Park, getting his side ahead against a stubborn Kilmarnock side. And then after that, he's now being tested defensively. Can his side hold on to a 2-1 lead? So the Hibs fans will get, you know, a good range of what Nick Montgomery's capable of today.
Yeah, if he survives, then it's the best possible start for him. It was I still think it was a bold move by Hibs. As Michelle said earlier on, you know, if you work in the A-League down under and you come here, you are automatically compared to Ange Postecoglou, which is deeply unfair. Ange Postecoglou had a lengthy and illustrious managerial career before he even got here. Nick Montgomery has had roughly 60 games as a manager. But if he survives and the defence holds out, it's a great platform from which to build.
You say it's a bold move. It doesn't necessarily mean negative though, because
no, but you're thinking outside the box.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't give Jack Ross long enough, sacked him. They brought in Sean Maloney, and after 19 games they get rid of Sean Maloney. And the club said at the time that they had known for some time, short of the 19 games, that Sean Maloney wasn't right for them. And then, you know, Lee Johnson, who was never a proper fit. And we were talking about the influence of Europe earlier on. You know, when he went abroad with Hibs and then told the fans to calm down when they were losing 2-0 to the butchers and candlestick makers, then, you know, you just can't have that.
And Lee Johnson walks right in Fleetwood looking for that big manager bounce this afternoon against Bristol. 2-0 down.
Yeah.
It's amazing, how managers just
over 500 games as a manager, Lee Johnson.
Yeah, he just changes badges. There's somebody. He must have the best PR company in the universe, and he must be alongside Frank Lampard.
Alongside, you've added that alongside.
Alongside. But it'd be a good start for Hibs.
I was down at Kilmarnock yesterday speaking to Derek McInnes about coming up against Nick Montgomery. One of the last times the two met was at the Battle of Bramall Lane in 2002. He was reminiscing over it, and we actually watched the highlights after it.
West Brom.
A crazy game. West Brom, scored an unbelievable goal in that game, by the way. It came to him at the edge of the box, and Sheffield United, quite a few of their players just lost their head. Game ended up getting abandoned because they didn't. Well, I mean, they were down to 6 men, I think it was, at one point. I think they had 3 red cards. 2 players ended up just sitting down and saying, I can't continue because I'm injured. But
game management.
By the way, Derek McInnes was on the receiving end of a headbutt
from Morgan.
Was that who it was? I can't remember the name. And
centre half.
The video of it is incredible because he's standing about a foot away from the referee. And sometimes, you know, players are maybe a bit subtle with these things. He just storms up to Derek McInnes and cranks his neck, full headbutt onto his eyebrow, and just bursts it open. It's crazy. Was certainly,
Derek
I think,
rolled out in the ground.
Well, to be fair, he was back up pretty quickly, but he was the one afterwards he was wanting the game to continue. He didn't want it to get abandoned. He was in, you know, the receiving end of quite a bit of treatment. Called it, you know, a dark day for English football, but it all seemed to be, you know, Sheffield United imploding rather than anything to do with West Brom.
I liked his quote about Nick Montgomery. Did you see Nick Montgomery that day?
I'll hold you there.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Kilmarnock 2, Hibs 2, and it's a goal for Joe Wright, and Nick Montgomery's side at the moment unable to hang on.
What Nick needs to avoid more than anything is a third Kilmarnock goal here from a 2-goal start. You cannot be losing that 3-2. And in fact, even the 2-2 draw will displease the travelling fans. So Mick Montgomery is getting the full introduction to Scotland.
You say it'll displease them, but I suppose it completely depends on the performance, because if Hibs fans have gone there and watched Hibs perform very well, they may still take a lot of positives away from it, despite the fact that they've not had the result.
I don't think any group of fans, Hibs or any other club, take a 2-goal lead, watch it turn into a 2-2 draw.
I think it can be different when it's a manager's first game. Do you not think so? If the manager is showing signs of improvement and the team look a lot better, they may be disappointed at the result, but they can still take positives away from it.
Period of grace there for a new manager.
Yeah, but not if he loses a third.
I still think, Hugh, I totally get what you're saying. It's not an ideal start, and people say, well, what has he been doing? But he's not been in the door that long. I think the finger then gets pointed firmly at the players. It's the players who are soft and keep conceding goals at Hibs. There needs to be some sort of resilience in there. It doesn't matter what they do. They change the back line all the time. Bashiri's back in the day. It's the same result. They can't keep a clean sheet.
Gordon, you were having a go at Fraser earlier on because he didn't get invited along to the Motherwell golf day.
Yeah,
I think he's got his own back on you.
What's he got?
He sent me some screenshots from some preview articles for today's Scottish Premiership matches from a big broadcasting corporation, and at the bottom of each of them it has a section just that says "Did you know?" with a little stat at the bottom of each one that just happened to be word for word the stats that Gordon Dalziel has been giving us throughout today.
What stats is that?
Ross County midfielder Jan Danda has created more chances from set plays in this season's Premiership than any other.
I cannot believe people are stealing my stats.
Motherwell have won three successive league games, and last won 4 on the spin in February 2019. A run of 6. The last was a run of 6 under Stephen Robinson. The exact stats that you were reading out to us earlier on.
So what we're really saying here is there's someone out there very cleverly tuning in, listen to me, and now they're following up with stats.
Definitely. These preview articles that are published way in advance of the game, someone has decided to go into them and edit them with your stats.
He is the guy with the same homework as the guy that sits next to him, his pal, and hand it in. There you go.
I used to get him to do my homework and never mind sit next to him.
Well done, Fraser. See, you go after Wisher and Wisher the detective.
Do you know something? Just take the hit that you didn't get invited to the Motherwell Day. You know what I mean? Don't try and bite back at people. That's just jealous. He's incredible.
I don't even want a full-time report from Fraser. I just want him to come on and slaughter Gordon.
He needs to defend himself.
Warzone.
Oh, okay. Oh, Fraser.
Right, I'm going to have a go at the full-time teaser.
Wraith Rovers 1, Inverness 0. A goal for James Gullen. Jason Thompson's been sent off for Kelty Hearts as well. There had been no Erling Haaland goal today up until now, the 86th minute of the game.
Scored
of course,
again.
He's on the score
sheet.
It
all started for him, was it not, last year against West Ham? Yep, he started with a couple there and never stopped. Right, go for it. Go at the teaser. Go.
Just before that, Roger says he's glad that those are the types of websites that you're scouring on a Friday night.
Do you know, I tell you what, you take no credit in this. This is who I'm going for here.
Right, just hold it up, Dazzler.
Right.
This is the man who played alongside J. Emmanuel Thomas and Martin Canning, was managed by Mick Supatalainen and Oran Kearney.
Got it.
Was once nominated for the SPFA Players Player of the Year, and has scored at every level of international football from under 16s up.
Got it.
And you have indeed got it.
There's your dinner.
I'll tell you what, we'll wrap it up, shall we?
The second half teaser
with the scottishsun.co.uk/football for the best football news and opinion online.
Gordon Dalziel with the 90th minute tap in there.
Right in at the back post he was. I have played alongside J. Emmanuel Thomas and Martin Canning. I've been managed by Mick Supatalainen and Oran Kearney. I was once nominated for the SPFA's Players Player of the Year, and I've scored at every level of international football from under 16s up. I am Dean Shields.
Dean Shields it is, and there were a few people that got it quicker than Gordon DL as well. On the podium, third place is Kyle B 1872. In second place, Ryan Hunter, and well done to I Need Your Mikey, who was in first place.
Right. It shows you're working. How'd you get that? Who'd they play for?
Scouring more websites.
Dingwall.
Well, there has been a goal in Dingwall.
Goal flashes with M&D Green Pharmacy.
Ross County 1, Livingston 1. Bruce Anderson with the goal. Remember, that was a later kick-off, kicked off around 15 minutes after the rest of the game, so only 72 minutes gone there. Plenty of time for a winner for either side, but it's Bruce Anderson on the score sheet, and it's 1-1 between those teams.
There's a real turn for them, Bruce Anderson. And they're next up for Celtic away next Saturday lunchtime.
Motherwell have just hit the bar. George Gents looking for that equaliser, but unable to get it. They're pushing to try and get at least a point out of St Mirren, who lead 1-0 at the moment.
Be a terrific result that if it stays the same for St Mirren. What a start to the season. 2 wins already, 2 draws, undefeated.
I'd put them in the second, Mark.
That certainly would.
Yeah.
Not a good day for Airdrieonians, because despite the fact that they're playing against 10 men now, they're 4-0 down to Arbroath. Leighton McIntosh with a goal in injury time.
Hard place to go, really is. Airdrie were going so well, getting a lot of credit for the football they're playing. I'm just trying to look to see where they are in the division, sitting there in 5th.
7 minutes added at Fir Park between Motherwell and St Mirren, so plenty of time for Stuart Kettlewell's side to try and push for that equaliser.
Well, they got a late winner, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago? Very late winner for
Harry
Park.
Payton.
Yep, so still hope there for your side, Daz. Right, aye, so who did Dean Shields play for?
I played with Patalainen signed him at Kilmarnock. Played obviously Northern Ireland with his dad every level. Knew that. Martin Canna. So
where did they play with Martin Canna?
He played
okay,
he didn't play Hamilton. I got it with Patalainen.
Right, okay.
And I knew that he'd been nominated.
It just seems an awful hard one for you to pluck.
No, I knew he'd been nominated for Player of the Year. That's why I put it all together.
And it's quite bold for a guy that's just been rumbled for using someone else's information to claim that
I didn't get a chance to tell that story in full at the other night at the Cash for Kids.
This is a lie.
Hugh, listen to this. The Cash for Kids Golf Day, there's a quiz after it hosted by Kat Harvey. So she asks the second question in, what is the alternative name for the San Siro? Now myself, Daz, and the boss at Arnold Clark, Eddie Hawthorne's in a team, and we're conferring, and we don't know. None of us know. Don't know. So we move on and we just mark beside the answer San Siro, because we know we've got to come back. Now see him picking up his phone and just
and do you know what's
and five questions later he goes, is it? And he starts speaking in this kind of
Italian,
broken Italian. And I said to him,
I'd love to hear you pronounce Giuseppe Meazza as well.
I says, I do not know what you're saying. I had to hand him the paper and he spelled it spot on, almost like he'd read the phone.
No, I did not. And there was a few spelling mistakes.
Just to clarify, this was a charity
event.
Was a charity
event.
Was happening at.
Yeah,
right, okay.
A charity event that we lost out with the answer that Gordon Duncan could
have you heard
for 45 minutes.
Could hula hoop for 45 minutes.
I did see this on the show
the
other night.
45 minutes. I cannot believe that.
No.
Yeah, that was the question. We says,
how do you discover you can do that?
Well, you put a hula hoop in yourself, put a clock on and away
have you
go.
Have you ever done it? Have you ever tried it?
Oh, I've
no with a hula hoop.
No, I've never had 45 minutes.
That's plenty. Where is the late action coming from? Action being the wrong word in these games. Hamilton actually have a very late goal against Alloa. Joe McGlynn scoring in the 93rd minute to surely give them all 3 points. 4 minutes added at Tynecastle. There were 4 minutes. There's also going to be one of these at Celtic Park.
VAR review with M&D Green Pharmacy.
A possible handball by Beck, but it's play on. It's not given. Celtic remain 3-0 up against Dundee. There were 4 minutes added. We are quite deep into those. 7 minutes it was added at Fir Park as well between Motherwell and St Mirren. That was a few minutes ago, so we aren't far away from those full-time whistles at all.
So we'll have a very, if everything stays the same, we'll have a very odd looking Premiership table. Celtic first on 13. We'd have Motherwell overtaken by St Mirren, who'd be on 11. Motherwell on 10, and Rangers would actually be in 4th. So early days, strange looking table.
Could well be a chance for a late winner. Rangers would be in 4th at the moment. Is that what you said? Yep.
Yeah.
4th, St Mirren up to 2nd. 5 minutes added at Rugby Park as well.
Right. So
we'll get late drama somewhere, surely. Fir Park or Rugby Park, one or other. What are you going for, Mark?
I'll go for Park. By the way, after a slow start this afternoon, it's actually kicked into life. Not too bad. Plenty of goals everywhere. It's been a good afternoon. After that drab stuff we watched earlier.
Again, from the Celtic and Rangers supporters, it'd be interesting to get the eyewitness account. We can talk about it, but what did it look like to the Celtic and Rangers fans?
Yeah, of course. We will have the open line after the full-time whistles. 0141 951 1025. Get your calls in now if you want, and we can line you up for the final hour of the show. We want to hear what you made of your team's performance. What did you think? Were you see promising signs from your side? Are there anything that worry you at all? Of course, there could be some late drama as well. Maybe you want to think about the games with your European head in mind as well, with some big games coming up during the week. 0141 951 1025. I think a cheer around Celtic Park there as Kyogo was given the sponsors man of the match.
Well, you're right in what you say, Andrew, that everything now has to be seen in the context of Europe. Rangers have survived their struggle at Perth, and now
I'm
just talking.
Talk over them.
I'm talking about falling bottles and everyone having a conversation.
I'll tell you what, we'll go to Celtic Park. It's full time. Roger Hannah.
There is full time indeed, Andrew. Celtic 3, Dundee 0. Celtic moved 2 points clear at the top of the Premiership table tonight. A stunning second half display, the ideal for the start of the Champions League group campaign on Tuesday night. Kyogo scored after a first half injury scare. There were 3 Celtic debutants: Nat Phillips, Lewis Palmer and Ronaldo pitch at different times. Celtic also struck the woodwork 3 times as they brushed aside newly promoted. And it's a good day at the office for Brendan Rodgers this afternoon. They could have taken an early lead. Tyson Maida denied by a smart save by Trevor Carson in the opening exchanges. Kyogo then running down the tunnel to spark an injury scare just 3 days before that trip to the Netherlands. He was off for a matter of minutes. A suspected recurrence of that shoulder injury, but he did come back, and he came back to devastating effect. Just moments after his return, Yang Hyung-jun hit the post from distance. That was as close as Celtic had come by that stage. They did have the ball in the net when Maida's crisp finish flew past Carson. The home fans thought it was 1-0, but it was a flag up. The goal disallowed after a VAR check by Stephen Kirkland. The Celtic change at half time, not Kyogo, it was Nat Phillips going off to be replaced by Gustav Lagerbielke, and it took Celtic just 6 minutes of the second half to take the lead. David Turnbull, it was fouled on the edge of the box. The referee Grant Irvin initially gave a free kick right on the edge of the box, but a VAR check for Stephen Kirkland, it ruled the foul was inside. It was a penalty. Turnbull smashing it past Carson for his third of the season. Dundee, they had a chance to equalise, but Luke McCowan fired wide when he should have hit the target, and after that it was all Celtic. On came Rio Hatate and Palmer, and they added a second goal in 63 minutes. A lovely dink ball and a flashing header by Kyogo past Carson for his 4th of the season. Alistair Johnson, he hit the bar as Celtic really turned the screw, and the third goal came in 67 minutes. Kyogo this time the creator for Matt O'Reilly to steer a low finish across Carson and inside the far post. Kyogo standing ovation with O coming on. O'Reilly was then given a rest ahead of Feyenoord with Bernardo coming on for his debut. Johnson up from right back struck the woodwork for the second time near the end, this time the far post with a shot. It was all Celtic. They're 2 points clear. They're ready for the Champions League. Celtic 3, Dundee 0.
Full time at Tynecastle. Dave Galloway.
Full time Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0. Aberdeen started pretty brightly. James McGarry's shot was smartly parried by Xander Clark, but Hearts soon found their feet and took a 14th minute lead. Liam Boyce found Yutaro Oda in too much space on the right, and he lashed in with the aid of a slight deflection. The Dons went close through James McGarry's powerful effort, which Xander Clark turned round the post, but the Jam Tarts passed up a good chance to double their advantage when Alan Forrest, just on for the injured Yutaro Oda, was picked out at the back post by Stephen Kingsley's cross. However, he couldn't get nearly enough on the header. Bojan Majowski fizzed the drive wide soon after the restart for Aberdeen, but Hearts quickly took control. Kenneth Vargas rattled the post with a rasping long-range pile driver. Lawrence Shankland's shot from distance flew just wide of the target, but they deservedly went 2-0 up after 64 minutes. Calum Nieuwenhof's ball into the danger zone. Kelleroos parried it, and up popped Liam Boyce to stab in from close range. A lovely passing move, almost carved out a third goal. Cammy Devlin's powerful drive warmed the palms of Kelleroos, who had to turn the ball behind. Hearts back to winning ways then, but for Aberdeen the wait for a league victory goes on, and they are joint bottom after 6 games. It's Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0.
It's all over at Fir Park as well. Fraser Wisher.
It is Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1. St Mirren fans to my right still in the stadium. They're absolutely delighted with this result. I think the lesson for Motherwell though is you must score when you're in top, because they had most of the game, apart from a 20-minute spell at the beginning of the second half when St Mirren scored through Scott Tanser, the unlikely scorer of the winning goal on 55 minutes. It's the first half, a few efforts on goal. Motherwell much the better team. Blair Spittle the main danger. He tested Hemming. A couple of 25-yard efforts, one from a free kick, but both well struck, but both unfortunately for him straight at the St Mirren goalkeeper. Spittle then saw his left foot shot heading goal, was it brilliantly blocked by Marcus Fraser, but nothing to report from St Mirren. They were really poor in the first half. Couple of changes at the break, which is no surprise. Taylor and Boyd once off, and Bacchus and Dunn on in the second half. A much better game of football, and St Mirren were much better as well. 55 minutes, Saints took that lead. Ryan Strain on the right hand side, the right wing back, a lovely deep cross to the back post over the head of Stephen O'Donnell. His other wing back, Scott Tanser, who came into left foot volley the ball past the goalkeeper from 8 yards low into the net. After a VAR check, the goal was given. Mikael Mandron could have got them 2 up. The seconds later, crossed the back post again by Strain. Good header by the striker, well saved by the legs of Kelly at his post as St Mirren threatened. But after that, it was all Motherwell. The first response to that goal came in 65 minutes. Slattery long range free kick pushed away by the diving Hemmings. Then Mugabe's shot was blocked by Tanser, and it just went out for a corner, and from that corner a real scramble in front of the Saints goal, and the ball was gleefully grabbed by Hemmings. Stuart Kettlewell then threw on new signings Ollie Shaw and George Gent, and within seconds Shaw had a good chance. He didn't catch the ball well when he had a free shot inside the penalty box. Comfy save by the goalkeeper. Shaw then got his head to a Gent cross, and again it was straight at Hemming. And then the closest Motherwell came to equalising on the 90th minute. Gent again involved. Corner he took on the right hand side was cleared back to him, and he curled a brilliant shot over the goalkeeper, but it hit the bar and was cleared by St Mirren, and that was it. Saints' excellent start to the season continues, unbeaten in 5 league games so far, and sitting nicely in second place in the table. But a sore one for Motherwell though. They played pretty well. Full time at Fir Park, Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1.
And Nick Montgomery's first game in charge of Hibs is all over at Rugby Park. Michelle Evans.
Yeah, it has finished here. Kilmarnock 2, Hibs 2, so it's honours even, but it's definitely been a tale of differing fortunes for both sides. Not a great start for Nick Montgomery, his side throwing away a 2-goal lead. Kilmarnock, however, they fought back from being 2 goals down to earn a point here. Leading through Lewis Miller even, first half strike, Hibs started on the front foot again, although they had lost Christian Deutsch at half time with Adam Lafondra replacing him. It was, however, Kelly who came closest to scoring first in the 54th minute. Set piece specialists Matty Kennedy and Danny Armstrong linking up again, with Armstrong firing wide from their free kick. They were left rueing that opportunity miss when 5 minutes later Dylan Venti doubled the visitors' lead. However, just when the Hibs fans thought they were home and dry, Kelly went straight up the park from the kick-off, with skipper Kyle Vassell firing home a loose ball in the box. Suddenly Kilmarnock looked really, really dangerous, and Kennedy went close again, testing Marshall at full stretch. Former Scotland number 1 had to be alert then to save from Armstrong after a good through ball from Marley Watkins. You could sense the goal was coming for the home side, however, and come it did in the 80th minute. Joe Wright heading home from Armstrong's in-swinging corner. It now looked like there would only be one winner in this game if there was going to be another goal as the clock ticked down, but there were no more goals forthcoming. So it was definitely a game of 2 halves. Hibs looked far better in the first half, with Kilmarnock coming out after the break and really taking the game by the scruff of the neck. So I think there's a little bit of thinking for Nick Montgomery to do, go back to the training pitch this week and work a little bit more with his players. But it has finished here, a point apiece. It's Kilmarnock 2, Hibs 2.
Still a few minutes to go between Ross County and Livingston as well. It's 1-1 in that match, but now it's over to you. We want to hear what you made of your team's performance. Were you happy with what you saw? Were you maybe a bit worried about some things? A good win for St Mirren away at Motherwell. Hibs fans, maybe you want to talk about Nick Montgomery's first game. Of course, Rangers fans, that win against St Johnstone earlier on. What did you take away from it? Celtic fans, a 3-0 win against Dundee. 0141 951 1025. And you can be up next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas Jaguar. Buy your next car or book your MOT service or repair online. The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas. New or used, they've got something for every taste. Visit them today. After the action, it's your reaction. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Almost full time in today's Scottish Premiership matches. The early kick-off, St Johnstone 0, Rangers 2. It was then Celtic 3, Dundee 0 at 3 o'clock. Hearts 2, Aberdeen 0, Kilmarnock 2, Hibs 2, Motherwell 0, St Mirren 1. And it is into injury time between Ross County and Livingston. Currently a 1-1 draw. And now it's time to hear from you. 0141 951 1025. Whatever is on your mind from your team's performance today. Maybe you want to reflect on what you saw. Maybe you want to look forward with a view to those big European games during the week as well. All you need to do, give us a call. 0141 951 1025. Hugh, what is your big takeaway from today's action?
Well, Rangers got there with 2 good goals, one in each half, and Michael Beale would be happy with the points. The performance overall far from good. Celtic, goalless first half, got there in the end. Second half, blooded new players like Paulo Bernardo, Louis Palmer, and the crowd would have gone away reasonably happy. But Celtic overall in the 90 minutes, not top notch, but they are top of the league.
Reasonably happy. Do you think Celtic fans will be a bit more than that? A 3-0 home win at Celtic Park, some debuts in there as well.
Certainly with the reports for the second half, I think they'll go away happy, because the second half of the game always sticks in fans' minds when they're going away. But it's your job to analyse the full 90 minutes, and according to Roger, it was a sticky first half and improvements needed there. But whatever Brendan Rodgers said worked, and it's always a positive when you get some of those new signings on and in the act. So I think he'll be pleased, moving in the right direction. And for Michael Beale, again, going back over old ground, like we said today, 3 points was the important thing, but he'll still be looking for big improvements in performance levels.
Yeah, the main thing for Michael Beale today was to get those 3 points, Gordon. He got those 3 points, but there still will be a focus on the performance. And they were coming up against a St Johnstone team who didn't look overly promising, and Rangers didn't blow them away.
Yeah, I think that'll be the disappointing factor for everyone concerned at Rangers. But the positives, they got the 3 points that everybody was talking about. I think Fraser made a great point saying, well, look, he could have went up there, played some terrific football, goalkeeper could have had a worldie, and all of a sudden he loses a set play and he becomes under pressure. He got game time into some players' legs, like Ruth, Lawrence, for instance. That stands him in good stead. Yilmaz come in at left back so that he got a run out to it as well. Clean sheet. St Johnstone, not one shot on target. So as much as we didn't enjoy the game, and I'm not going to kid on I didn't enjoy the game, but it's all about winning games for Rangers just now. Michael Beale, now he's got a great opportunity, 4 home games coming up, and all of a sudden quickly they can turn the corner.
Well, let's hear from you at home. 0141 951 1025. We'll hear from Michael Beale in a second again as well. But talk about late drama. We were wondering whether there was going to be late drama north of the border, south of the border in 2 of the games with VAR, with how long games go on for. Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham, to start off with, were 1-0 down to Sheffield United, scored in the 98th and the 110th minute to win the game 2-1. Then Crystal Palace and Aston Villa, where actually Crystal Palace were 1-0 up on Aston Villa. Aston Villa scored in the 88th, 98th and 100th minute to win the game 3-1. Quite incredible, isn't it? But anyway, we're focusing on Scottish football. 0141 951 1025. Let's get the take from Michael Beale first, and then we'll speak to Paul in Cardonald.
I thought we started the game really well. We got control of the game. I thought we had good energy in the four forwards, and we scored a fantastic goal. Really good play from Sam and Tav. It wasn't the first time we got down the side of St Johnstone, but it's an excellent goal. Great finish from Danny, and obviously in that moment with the injury to the two players, the game stopped for a long time. So obviously they lose one to concussion, and it looks like, well, I know he's fractured his cheekbone, Danny, so we'll have to see how long he's out for, but he's got a fracture on his face there, and he's away, and hopefully will be operated on this evening. So it's a really disappointing moment for the team, that, because obviously, you know, with Danny's had a couple of bits going on, he's had this 2 weeks to get himself fit, and goes and scores, and it was a real big moment for him to get the injury at the time. I thought after that the game got a bit stuffy because it lost momentum. Second half, I thought we created more good chances than we took, but I'm delighted with the goal because I thought that was an excellent goal as well. Great pass from Tom. Rabi's been getting those type of chances quite frequently of late, and it was nice to see him take one because he deserves it.
Paul in Cardonald, what did you make of Rangers' performance today?
To be honest, mate, it wasn't the greatest. But you know what matters?
3 points?
3 points, 2 goals, 0 conceded. And I was wanting to go back to the point, I think it was a boy last night who said about all these keyboard warriors and social media and all that. Give the guy a break. Let the team gel.
Well, you'll need to tell your fellow Rangers fans then, because it was the Rangers fans who exploded at the end of the Celtic game 2 weeks ago, and Michael Beale quickly got himself up the tunnel because he knew the atmosphere inside the ground had gone toxic. So this is our world here, and it's a coarse world, and managers tend not to get time and tend to get criticised. And I've said at the very start of the programme today, I thought the criticism of Michael Beale was ferocious and savage, but it came from the Rangers supporters inside the ground.
Yeah, Paul, are you hoping that...
Well, can I tell you something, mate? Mm-hmm. I certainly wasn't one of them.
Well...
I think it's ridiculous the way he's getting treated.
Well, I can't be any fairer than that and say that in a long career I've never known such ferocious and savage treatment given out to an Old Firm manager. However, that's the way it works, and if Michael Beale had lost the game today or drawn the game, it would have been even worse. So it's the world in which we live. It's nothing. I know the keyboard warriors, as you call them, create a poisonous atmosphere on social media, but you can ignore them. But the fans inside the ground, they're the season ticket holders. They are the ones who provide the club's wealth.
Paul, are you hoping that the result today will maybe take a bit of the heat off Michael Beale?
Mate, the heat wasn't on him for me.
I know, but generally there has been from Rangers supporters. Hugh referenced the fact that, you know, there was quite vociferous boos from Rangers supporters after that defeat to Celtic. Then at half-time again, Gabriel at the game told us that Rangers fans were booing the team. So there may not be pressure from you, Paul, but generally there has been pressure from Rangers supporters.
I'm a Rangers supporter, mate, right? I'll support my team through thick and thin, right? So what happens if we get beaten Betis this Thursday? Is all the keyboard warriors like him out again?
Yeah, but you keep going on about keyboard warriors. You can just ignore them. For the most part, their comments are inane or simply profane and vicious for the sake of it. So you don't need to go on about them. We know that social media is a poisonous place. But the fact of the matter is that Michael Beale needs to keep on getting results. Today was an important moment for him. Real Betis, you know, how much the Rangers fans care about the Europa League. They cared a lot when they got to the final under Giovanni Van Bronckhorst. He has to get a decent performance against Real Betis at home. This is just the law of the jungle here. It applies to Brendan Rodgers as well. If he hadn't got 3 second half goals, he'd have been under pressure.
Paul, if we just take your perspective of this Rangers team and of Michael Beale, what did you see today, or did you see anything today that gives you a positive outlook going forward?
To be fair, mate, no. But my point is, right, see when they're playing terrible, I'll still love them. See when they're playing brilliant, I'll still love them. And see Bett's taking 2 or 3 off us on Thursday, I'll still love them. Well,
that's good for you, but it's not the way the majority will see it. And this is the way of the world in football. I understand that the club is very much in your heart, and that's fine. But you have to allow for the existence of others who have the club in their heart, but reserve the right to be highly critical if they don't like the way it's going.
Yeah, Mark, a lot of football supporters have differing opinions on things. Paul will support his team no matter what. He'll support the players and the manager no matter what. But the evidence is there that there are Rangers fans out there that aren't happy with the performance that Rangers put in today. Do you think that is enough to change the minds of those that are looking at things more negatively?
Today's performance?
Yep.
No, I don't. And Paul, Paul's got the ultimate lot there for his club, but even he admitted there wasn't a lot there to be positive about. He'll continue to support them. I think any club needs fans like Paul, that there's an element of blind loyalty no matter what the result. But Hugh is right. I think the majority of fans want their club to be successful, and they want their club to be entertaining. And neither is the case for Rangers at the minute. Haven't been successful in terms of winning trophies under Michael Beale, and they haven't been entertaining. So that's where the grumblings come from. I think that's fair. You'll always get a mix in the stands. Paul's obviously siding with give Beale as much time as he wants, and nothing he does can go wrong because he'll always support them. But there's a large section that won't think that and expect better.
Paul, you've obviously got Michael Beale's back. What do you hope to see from his side moving forward now?
I'm going to ask Mark here, mate. So what, see we scoring the last minute against Betis on Thursday night?
Yep.
Is everything all rosy in the garden then?
Depends. Has Betis scored 2 before then, or what? What do you mean, to win the game?
No, I'm saying if we win the game, if we score in the last minute and win the game, mate.
Yeah.
Is everything all rosy then?
Well, it depends how the performance is, I think. It certainly goes a long way to making things a lot better.
Is it not fair to say, though, that just a win over Real Betis wouldn't make things all rosy? A lot of Rangers fans appear to be in a position at the moment that they're quite entrenched, Paul, and it's not one result away from everything being rosy. Fans maybe want to see a more gradual progression in performances and results.
Listen, mate, see, you're going to support a football team, support them through thick and thin, mate. That's what I'm saying.
That's simply not how it works, because when you didn't want Giovanni Van Bronckhorst anymore, everyone's happy that he gets the bullet, and that went for Pedro Caixinha. You look at him and it was a disaster. They want him out. It's not the real world to say you support the team through thick and thin and you never criticise.
But I'm interested where that gets you, Paul. If your team is underperforming, and say, listen, let's just say Rangers lose 3 in the bounce, 4 in the bounce, and go further and further behind Celtic, and you're still there cheering and saying, oh, it doesn't matter, I still love this club. Where does that get anybody?
Mark,
where does that get anybody?
Mark, what I'm trying to say to you is, mate, it's the start of the season.
I know, but you're saying you...
Right, the game's over then, isn't it?
Tell me this then, Paul. Why did Rangers sack a manager who took them to a European final and won them the Scottish Cup?
I think Paul's got... Do you know, so I'm going
It was also later in the season.
Yeah,
I'm
siding
I think
with Paul.
Paul's point is the fact that it's mid-September. He feels that Michael Beale, with this new set of players, should be given more time than...
Paul objects to criticism, full stop, whether it's in September or in May. He objects to anyone having anything negative to say about his club, no matter whether they're on a roll or whether they are headed for a bad place. But that's not how the world works.
Well, thank you to Paul. 01419511025, and you can be up next. Let's hear from Stephen Maclean as well, shall we? See what he made of it from a St Johnstone perspective.
Disappointing. I think the 2 goals we lose, poor goals to lose, I think, from our corner especially, and then we get done in transition, we don't run back to our goal quick enough, and then we're 4v2 in the box and we don't pick them up. So disappointed with that. And the second goal, we're in possession of the ball as well and we give it away and always get done in transition. But I thought shape wise and work rate and effort, I thought it was good. We had a lot of moments in the second half, and we just never took them. I think Kano Freshiere's one, Costello has an opportunity back post, and Cam McPherson should probably score. I think Darry as well has an opportunity with outside his foot, it gets blocked. So I think when you get these opportunities against big teams, you need to be clinical and take them. I've always said we're going to get better as we go on. We've got 11 new signings, so we're going to improve. So no, there's certainly enough to work with. I think I was probably concerned at the start of the season, but I think with the group that I've got together now, I think we keep working hard and we keep improving, we'll be fine this season.
The general feeling in here was that there weren't many positives for St Johnstone. Stephen Maclean appears to be painting it in a brighter light.
Quite rightly so, because he knows his players will be listening to every word he's saying. I don't really agree with him. I thought they offered absolutely nothing today. You can talk about Kane's fresh air shot. They had one opportunity late on the game. They look poor. They concede goals. They don't score many. I don't think there was anything I could take if I was a St Johnstone fan walking away from that of encouragement. They're getting better. I've watched St Johnstone a few times. Yes, at Celtic Park, probably one of the best performances. They dug deep. They got off the hook a little bit with some of the chances that Celtic missed. But apart from that, the table's not lying. No. They're there for a reason. The reason is they ain't good enough at this moment in time.
01419511025. What did you make of your team's performance? We'll get you on after these.
And now a word from our podcast sponsor, Lookers Motor Group. They've got Jaguar, Land Rover and Volvo showrooms across Glasgow and the West, so you can find the new or used approved car that's right for you. The Land Rover showrooms can be found in Motherwell, Darnley and the north of Glasgow, with their Jaguar and Volvo showroom found in Hillington. And right now at lookers.co.uk you can browse and shop 24/7, value your part exchange, order and take delivery from the comfort of your own home. Every approved used Jaguar, Land Rover or Volvo comes with a minimum of 12 months warranty, roadside assistance, MOT test warranty, an independent mileage and service history check, software updates and lots more. Check out lookers.co.uk to get your new or used approved Land Rover, Jaguar or Volvo today. Now back to the podcast.
The games are over. The talking begins. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Yes, an interesting day of action across the four tiers of Scottish football. There is a full time as well at the Global Energy Stadium in Dingwall. Ross County 1, Livingston 1. That was a bit of a later kick-off due to Livingston's team bus breaking down just after Aviemore, I think, but that one is done and dusted, so the points shared there, Hugh.
Well, Livy, what can you say about them? They never give in. They've got the lowest budget in the league and they're still hanging in there. You look at some of these results tonight and the league table, and I fully understand it's only 5 games old, but you've got Livy on 6 points, still doing everything they can to be in or about the middle of the league. St Mirren are 9 points above Aberdeen. 9 after 5 games. So great for St Mirren, but it means Aberdeen are headed in the wrong direction.
Well, we'll start hearing from a few of the managers shortly. They're just doing their post-match media, so we'll bring that to you as quickly as we can. But let's focus on the phones. 0141 951 1025. Let's hear from you. There was, of course, a big result for St Mirren against Motherwell, that 1-0 win. Tom is a St Mirren fan. Tom, just how delighted are you with that today?
Good evening, panel. Welcome. I'm chuffed to sell, mate. Chuffed to sell. A very happy man and a happy supporters come back to Paisley.
What's it like to be a St Mirren fan at the moment, because it's another great result for Stephen Robinson's side?
Well, I'm so proud to put the scarf around my neck and get the top on. So proud to wear it.
Anything today that stood out for you in terms of performance?
One gentleman in question, Alec Gogic, absolutely fantastic. He got injured, a head injury, didn't want to come off. He went off and got treatment, then he come back on. If that's no commitment for Club Gordon, what's no commitment, if you understand where I'm coming from?
Well, St Mirren are 2 points off the top. As I say, I realise the season is in its infancy, but Tom's quite right to be highly charged and emotional about the whole thing, because his team are 2 points off the top of the league, 9 points ahead of Aberdeen. So that if they keep up this kind of progress, then they'll be top 6 and they'll be thinking about Europe.
That's it, because some people would look at it and think it's maybe a flash in the pan, it's just a good run of form, but it's built off what was a very good season last season, Mark, wasn't it?
Well,
and
they built that
St Mirren just seemed to be improved this season even more.
Yeah, they built that in home form last season, but they're showing that they're good on the road now. But the signings, McMenamin's been good. You look at Mandron, who was at Motherwell last season. Look, the full squad. You've got Hara in the middle of the pitch, back from injury now. He's such a crucial player. Boyd Muntz in there as well. So a really good squad now. And you look at the bench as well. Stephen Robinson got options to bring on. I remember last season he was maybe short on a few, but it's a rounded squad. And that one against Motherwell is as good as any as they'll have this season, because when Motherwell started the season the way they have, it was a very difficult fixture for them today. So they're only looking up St Mirren, not looking back, and what a start.
It'll be a sweet night for him, especially going to his old club. We've all been there. You want to go back and put on a good show, and he gets the result. And you're talking there about the strength of St Mirren. Great to see Mark O'Hara back. I really rate Mark O'Hara as a player, and obviously he changed things at half time today. I think he made 2 substitutions, am I right? Mm-hmm. So he's not frightened to make the big calls when it comes along, and obviously got his reward. That's a terrific 3 points against a informed Motherwell side.
Is that the big thing about St Mirren this season? Is, look, Mark O'Hara had a fantastic season last season. He's the club captain now. They had a couple of games without him, and despite the fact that he was so pivotal last season, they did manage to cope without him this campaign. Caelan Boyd Muntz came in and performed well. They've got maybe a bit more depth than they did last season as well, which will really encourage Stephen Robinson.
Strength and depth in there. You've got players who are playing at the top of their game. Really like the look of the boy straining the right hand side. He's really been a standout. So I mean, they've got players, match winners in there, but they've got a solidity to them as well. That shape that he's found with the 3 centre backs and the 2 wing backs can be defensive, but when you promote them forward, incredibly attacking. So he's got a good balance.
Look at the goal today. It's Ryan Strain, the right wing back, with the cross, and it's Scott Tanser, the left wing back, with the goal.
Reminds me of me and Emilio Lizagini in our Celtic days. But listen, terrific. Stephen Robinson's really worked a miracle there, because remember last season the financial constraints they were under, and there was real problems there, but there was a togetherness. He built a decent squad and got good results, and he's added to it. And Bacchus away at the World Cup, and he's on the bench today, comes on at half time, makes a difference. So it goes to show you they've got good players in that midfield area that drive the team forward.
Tom, what can this St Mirren team achieve this season? I know it's still only early in the campaign, but just how optimistic are you?
I'm very optimistic. I was going to ask Hugh put us down for relegation this year. Do you think you'll be in the Hubble fight this year again?
Do I think you'll go down? No, not even I would think that. I've tried to talk you up, Tom. Do me a favour.
Tom said you had them down for relegation, did you?
No, I took St Johnstone to go down this season.
Did you have them 11th?
No. I think, is it last season you're talking about?
Maybe last season.
I mean, we have to have a clean slate at the start of each season, Tom. You can't keep going back to the past. You must look forward.
Well, thank you very much to Tom, an excited St Mirren fan. I didn't want to disrupt him by telling him he was calling me Gordon the whole time, but you know what, he's on a high. I'll just let him off.
Get on that, Gordon. Stop throwing him off.
Let's hear a bit from Tony Docherty, shall we? He's been speaking after Dundee's defeat to Celtic.
There's no well dones. I thought we carried out the game plan excellent first half, and I think it was a really good chance to score before we come in. But the message then is keep it tight, and I do think it's on our part. It's a mistake. I don't think the players should go and commit to making that tackle, but it takes a penalty in the 55th minute to undo us. So disappointed with that. I'm sure the boys will be debating it, whether it was in or out of the box. I've watched a couple of times myself. It's hard to make a decision on it. I don't see it's a definite penalty kick, but certainly, I don't think we'll be defined by losing to Celtic at Celtic Park, but what we will be defined by is our reaction to it.
Yeah, I think certainly from the angle that I've seen, it's maybe a bit of a clearer angle than the one that Tony Docherty had on that penalty. But
he's allowed to make the point that it's the 55th minute in the game, and it's 0-0. He's right to be pleased with his players for reaching that advanced stage of the game, and it's still 0-0. But it's a penalty.
Celtic fans, we want to hear from you. What did you make of that performance? 0141 951 1025. Of course, Rangers fans, we want to hear from you as well on that win over St Johnstone. Thomas is a Rangers fan in Barhead. Thomas, what were your thoughts on that game today?
My thoughts on the game, first of all, the previous Rangers supporter, Paul I think his name is, the problem when you are so involved in your football club is that you can lack objectivity. I love Rangers as much as Paul does, but I'm quite happy to give Rangers tough love, and that is be critical when it's deserved. I think the performance today was still laborious, and still we can't see the style that Michael Beale's trying to inject into the team. 2-0 win, and that's the end result, is a win. But you've got to remember that we are playing the team that's bottom of the league and the team that Hugh has predicted to go down. So that's got to give it a wee sense of perspective as well. I was pleased with Matondo's performance when he came on. Lammers, I just don't see anything in that boy at all. I don't see what he brings to the table, and that's a few times now that he's played. And I believe it's 2 goals in 3 years or something is his record. But my other point is...
Well, I'll take that, Thomas. I'll let you come back in, because Thomas makes that point of identity, and we've mentioned it before. Will Rangers fans be any clearer on what Michael Beale is trying to do with this Rangers side after today? Because the formation looked different than in previous matches. Did it give any more hints as to exactly the style that Michael Beale's trying to imprint on this side?
No, he went with a different style, obviously, with Roof and Lammers playing sort of a narrow in behind Danilo. I agree with Thomas. I don't see the great patterns of football that Michael Beale has been brought to Ibrox for to implement on a match day. Where I also agree with Tom, I thought Matondo come on, that bit of pace. Sima, I thought he influenced the game as well. I thought he got involved in it. I thought it was a poor game, poor standard. It is all about the 3 points. I agree that sometimes it is a bit of tough love. All Rangers supporters want the best for their club, of course they do. But sometimes you've got to be honest and look at the overall picture. As I said earlier, he's get through this hurdle, and he should have got through the hurdle, because watching St Johnstone, I hope they do get better, but they offered nothing for me. They've got 4 home games coming up, 4 very important home games, and it'll be interesting to see how they play in that. But I do agree with them in one thing: Lammers has offered nothing so far.
Of the players that came in today, Mark, were there any that stood out that looked as if they made a difference? There was Ben Davies that came in, Red Van Yilmaz, Tom Lawrence started. Danilo obviously got himself a goal, but picked up a pretty serious looking injury.
Yeah, I can only say Danilo, because he did what he was brought in to do and score, and he obviously carried off after that. The rest, even Davies, he wasn't really tested, but again, you could point to a mistake. He passed it back to Butland, and there was a penalty claim in there. But the rest, it was all a bit samey from what was before. Lammers, again, I said before the game, he's offered nothing. He could have had a good game. He was anonymous. Lawrence, by the way, probably takes away that he plays the game 90 minutes and he gets an assist, because it's a nice little pass. He had easier options, and that's what the Rangers fans will expect from Lawrence.
I think they miss Cantwell, and he's away for the next 3 or 4 weeks, maybe longer. They missed.
He's another one that hasn't really hit the heights though this season, has he?
Yeah, but he brings an energy to it. The one thing that was depressing to watch about the game was the sheer lack of tempo, energy, entertainment. The 2 goals are very good.
You use the word energy, Hugh, there, but the first sentence that Michael Beale comes out with was, "I liked the energy."
I thought that was odd as well.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm sorry, I failed to see that. I thought they dominated the game, because I think they had 71% possession. St Johnstone just dropped, but they didn't play with any great sharpness, movement. The goal was a very, very good goal, and unfortunately Danilo only lasted that 16 minutes. But apart from that, I didn't see a lot until Matondo come on, and I thought his goal was terrific.
Thomas on the line used the word laborious about Rangers, and that was when we were looking at the game. That was the word I used. It's all laborious, it's labour intensive, and there are 2 nice goals in there, in among many, many turgid moments.
Thomas, what was your other point you wanted to make?
It was the other point. It was actually to ask the guys' opinions if they have looked at the VAR picture on the offside goal. Now, it doesn't matter because we won, and I'm not going to come on and say, oh, it's another goal chalked off. I was just curious because the picture started to go the rounds just now, and the picture that is going the rounds, when you look at it, the player, the St Johnstone defender on the near side, nearest the camera, has got his foot in the line, as has Kemar Roof. And if that's the case, then is he not onside if he's in line? I accept that Roof is ahead of the player that's right beside him. But on the photograph, as I say, the one that I've been looking at, it appears that the player, the defender, I presume is the right back, his foot is on the line, as is Roof's. And in my head, does that not make him onside?
Yeah, look, I think it's always tough to debate these offside ones because the offside are pretty much generally black and white. The problem is, the word that Thomas is using a lot is appears.
Yeah.
And that's because when we're watching it on the TV, it's a skewed angle. It's very hard to get the perspective of it. The people at Clydesdale House that are drawing the lines, they're zooming in. They've got it exactly correct. They know exactly where to draw the lines. It's all calibrated before the game. So it is one of those ones where it's tough to go back and say, look, this should or shouldn't have counted.
In general terms, we were told and asked to accept that when VAR came in, it would take away the mistakes previously made. Now VAR is here, a line has been drawn, and now supporters are saying, I still don't accept it. Well, where do we go after VAR? I mean, the European Court of Human Rights.
Well, thank you to Thomas. 01419511025 if you want to get involved. Celtic fans, maybe you've got some thoughts on these, because we're going to hear a few clips from Brendan Rodgers. First of all, on the performance.
Listen, every game is difficult. I think it's a great shout out to the crowd, because I thought they done really well for us today. I think they can see that what we were trying to do in the first half, and I'm lucky not to be in front. But at 0-0 at half time, it could have been a little bit edgy, but they stayed with the team. Second half, we upped the tempo of the game, combined really well, got the goals, and then everyone gets the reward at the end just by staying patient and staying together. So it was really pleasing.
Is that a fair assessment?
Is Brendan Rodgers going to phone George Bowie after this programme? Because Brendan said there he wanted a shout out to the crowd. So there's only one man who does shout outs on Clyde, and that's George Bowie. So Brendan, we'll send you the number. I think he's right in the sense that the crowd did stick with them. 0-0 half time. They could have got edgy, but then in the second half, I think they were correct to get the penalty. It was a justifiable penalty, but it did kick-start the day for Celtic, because we're 55 minutes in, it was 0-0, and that penalty just got them going.
That's sometimes all you need in a game at home against an opposition that are sitting in, is just to have that patience, continue with the game plan. It may take a penalty to kick things off, it may take a set piece to kick things off, but Brendan Rodgers can't really ask more from his players, that they stick to the game plan and end up winning the game 3-0.
I think the key word they used there was tempo. They upped the tempo in the second half. If the amount of ability Celtic's got, if they up the tempo with that amount of ability, then teams struggle to live with them. It's when they're ponderous and the tempo's slow, like it was in the first half, then teams can't live with them because they get bodies behind the ball. But if Celtic move it quick and get runners off Kyogo, then no one will live with them. And the penalty, they work it well into the edge of the box because they move the ball quick, and it is a penalty. So they deserved everything they got in the second half. It could have been more, but they need to up the tempo from the off in the first half.
Gordon, you mentioned earlier on that you maybe hadn't been blown away or overly impressed by any of Celtic's performances over 90 minutes, but was that a step in the right direction under Rodgers?
Probably second half, a little step. I'm not getting carried away with the performance. I'd expect them to win the game against Dundee, especially at Celtic Park. First half, I thought it was laboured. I think Celtic didn't play at a good pace at all. Goals change games. Penalty kick, I totally agree with lads. I think it was a stonewaller. And then they upped the pace a little bit. You're a lot of positives there for Brendan Rodgers and Celtic's afternoon. Of that, there's no doubt. 3 goals, clean sheet, 1 or 2 people getting introduced. Bit disappointed Phillips only could last half a game. But I still go back to it, and I think the Celtic fans would agree with it. There's still a bit of work to be done.
Well, let's hear from you, Celtic fans. I'm sure you're either on your way back from the game or home, so you can give us a call 01419511025. And after this break, we'll hear what Brendan Rodgers had to say about Kyogo and Nat Phillips.
After they play, you have your say. 0141 951 1025. Clyde One Super Scoreboard's open line.
Into the final part of today's Clyde One Super Scoreboard. Lots of action across all 4 divisions in Scotland. Rangers with that early win against St Johnstone at lunchtime. Celtic beating Dundee 3-0 at Celtic Park. A good 2-0 win for Hearts over Aberdeen. Nick Montgomery's Hibs went 2-0 up but were unable to hold on. 2-2 it was against Kilmarnock at Rugby Park. A fantastic result for St Mirren away at Motherwell, and it was 1-1 between Ross County and Livingston. We're going to hear from Zara, who's a Celtic fan in Maryhill, but let's hear a couple of updates from Brendan Rodgers. The first of those on Kyogo, after he had that sort of incident during the match where he walked off, looked as if he maybe had some problems with his shoulder and came back on.
Yeah, it was just his shoulder. He just needed to get some work off the pitch, and quickly the medical team sorted that out, and obviously came in and was fine.
Some work. Does that potentially mean it was popped back in?
Yeah,
or
that's the only explanation.
Yep.
It's got to be, because otherwise the physios would have done it on the touchline. It's obviously a painful thing getting a pop back in. Kyogo wanted to do that in private. You got to think it's that. So, but nevertheless, it's a problem. But a problem that Kyogo must be comfortable playing on with. He doesn't want to miss any prolonged time.
Doesn't just play on, he scores as well.
Yeah. Scored a good goal, good header. Yeah, it is worrying if you get that injury. You never know what's going to go. But look, he come back on the pitch. That was the positive, and he get his goal, good header as well.
Nat Phillips taken off at half time for Gustav Lagerbielke. Brendan Rodgers asked about that as well.
He just, towards the end of the game, he just rolled his ankle, just in the last actions of the first half. He was going to play 60 minutes, but just precautionary, we took him off, and but should be fine.
Precautionary will be something that Celtic fans will be happy to hear, because they don't need any more injuries at centre-back, Hugh.
No, they've had a very, very difficult start to the season with Cameron Carter-Vickers and Navrosky and Stephen Welsh. So Brendan there saying that he was only going to play an hour anyway. All of this with a view to Rotterdam and the game against Feyenoord on Tuesday night, where he'll be needed.
Zara is up next in Maryhill. Zara, what pleased you about Celtic's performance today?
Oh, well, the first half I was a bit, I got a bit anxious, to be honest. But I've got the faith, I've got the positivity that I understand where the team is at, because we were playing under a certain way with Ange, okay? They've got a different coach, right, or a different manager that wants to play a certain way, so they have to adapt to that style of play. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? They're young, they're playing a certain way, you know, the majority of the team are very young, so you need to accept the fact that they are going to adapt. I'm quite positive that we're going to kick on and we're going to get better. I would ask Rangers fans if they feel the same with their team, right? Another thing as well.
Well, I'll take that, Zara, first of all, because generally Rangers fans that we speak to on the phones are saying they're not really seeing those signs of progress. From a Celtic's perspective, you're seeing those signs of progress, you'd say, Zara? Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of the Celtic fans, but to be honest, I really don't see any noise out there that suggests otherwise. And as they'll be somewhat satisfied. No, I actually think we'll be very satisfied with the performance, because, as I said, when you sit back and you take a look at what's happening, you need to sit there and take everything into consideration when you are, looking at the squad. So you can't just sit there and just immediate reaction. Oh, they're absolutely rubbish. You need to take in what has happened. There's a new manager in place. The majority of these folk haven't worked with Rodgers before, so they need to get up to speed. I feel quite positive, and I really don't know any of my other Celtic friends that don't feel positive.
I'm getting the impression, listening to the Celtic and Rangers fans today, that they're objecting to objective criticism. Celtic and Rangers have had good days and bad days in this early part of the season. Gordon Dalziel said earlier on he hadn't been utterly convinced by Celtic, and he's quite correct. The game at Ibrox, even there, Celtic weren't convincing, but they got a magnificent goal from Kyogo, and that changed the whole complexion. But neither Celtic nor Rangers, for me, 5 games into the season, could turn around and say, yep, it's all going in the right direction, because there are a lot of flaws contained within either side.
Easier to say it as a Celtic fan though, Mark, just given the fact that Celtic have won 4 and drawn 1 of their opening 5 games. Yes, there was obviously the slip up in the League Cup, but beating Rangers and then being unbeaten, only dropping points in 1 game of 5, generally Celtic fans you'd think will be happy.
Yeah, they are. I think Zara makes a lot of good points. Celtic are in a transitional period as well, and we often forget that because of the success they've had, because they kept the majority of the squad, and it was only really Jota, it's a big one, it's missing. But when you move from a manager as impressive as Ange Postecoglou and quite a unique style, then it's going to take time. Now you add to that a mix of players who've came to the club as well, and injuries, disruptions. It is going to be difficult to be 100% free-flowing, attractive football right away. And I think they're far from that. I think the bar was set so high with Ange Postecoglou, whoever came in, it was going to be tough to follow. But I think it is a work in progress. They have to get better. I think you saw glimpses of that in the second half today, where they hit the post and the bar as well, so it could have been a more resounding victory. And I'm with Zara. I think it will get better. I see more positive signs, obviously, for Celtic match with results than I do for the other side of the city. So it will get better. However, European games, Champions League games are round the corner, so some fans might say, well, it needs to get better in 3 days' time, because that's when you're tested to the maximum. So it's the next big one along for Brendan Rodgers' side, and it is going to be a test come Tuesday night for him.
Well, thank you to Zara. We'll quickly squeeze John in Shettleston in as well. John, what was your take on today's game?
Hi, I was tremendously encouraged by the second half today. I'm like a lot of other Celtic fans probably. You watch the turbocharged football of Postecoglou, and I think the build-up's a wee bit, I think Hugh touched on it earlier, I think the build-up's a wee bit slower, but I thought the second half was tremendously encouraging. I think they had the woodwork 3 times a day, but I've seen terrific signs today that things were clicking together in the second half.
You would accept, John, that this was Dundee you're playing. Against bigger teams than Dundee. We'll have to see how Celtic do. Beginning with Feyenoord on Tuesday.
Dundee, Hugh, I think.
I know,
but last week, didn't we?
Yeah. I think that game has changed the complexion for Celtic fans, but would you agree that even that performance wasn't Celtic at their best, but they got a fantastic goal from Kyogo and got the points?
I totally agree, Hugh. I mean, I totally agree with that. I think the Aberdeen performance has actually been our most convincing this season, Hugh, but to go there and win 3-1, and in the face, I think, you're looking at it and there's maybe half a dozen significant injuries for Celtic players that are significant, and you think, how would their biggest opponents do without Tavernier, Goldson, guys like that? And I think it's quite. I think we've seen something significant today and a wee bit different in the second half, and the pace got up. It was far more. It was far quicker. And it was far more clinical, and it could have been 6 or 7 in the second half. Well, I know Johnson could probably have had a hat-trick today, and he's a right back. So it encouraged me greatly watching it, Hugh.
What did you make of Louis Palmer, Paulo Bernardo?
Hard to... I don't think they get enough, Hugh. The boy Palmer looked as though he wants to cut in his right side all the time, and he didn't look as sort of two-footed, if you like, as Jota, but it's so hard to judge, Hugh, and but encouraging signs, I think. I thought Phillips looked good in the first half, Hugh.
Well, as we've all agreed, Celtic have had a troubled start to the season with injuries, and along comes Nat Phillips, or to give him his Roger Hanna name, Nathaniel Phillips, and he didn't last into the second half. But the word from Brendan Rodgers is positive. It looks like Phillips will be there in Rotterdam on Tuesday. And Celtic, now it's about another aspect of the game for me, because Celtic, I think it's about their defensive capabilities on Tuesday and not going forward.
Well, thank you to John. I quickly want to hear a bit from Nick Montgomery, the Hibs boss, what he made of that 2-2 draw against Kilmarnock.
Yeah, obviously frustrating, going 2-0 up away from home. I thought the boys played some really good stuff. It's not an easy place to come, but yeah, disappointed. I thought we probably could have killed the game off. Even in the first half, we had some good chances. Their keeper pulled off some good saves, and there was some desperate defending from them. But yeah, as soon as we conceded the first one, gave them a little bit of momentum, and yeah, they're going to knock balls in the box, and they're very good at it. They've got good delivery, they've got physical players, and yeah, unfortunately, I think Lafondra had a good chance to finish it off. Again, another good save from the goalkeeper. So yeah, very disappointed to go away without 3 points, but all credit to them. They showed great fight, and they do. So you have to expect that, and yeah, really proud of the boys' effort.
Yeah, there will be positives and negatives that Nick Montgomery will take away from that game.
Yeah, a lot of positives, but I'll tell you what, he'll be highly disappointed when he gets home tonight and sits down, has a little think about his debut as a Hibs manager. 2-0 up, away a difficult venue. He'd have probably taken a draw before a game, but when you're 2-0 up, you've got the 3 points in your grasp. And all credit to Kilmarnock, all credit to Derek McInnes. 2-2 must have been a good game, but good start to his managing career.
Yeah, you think Hibs fans will be more encouraged from what they saw today in spells and what they were seeing under Lee Johnson?
Well, it's quite easy to see what the problem is. 5 games played, 10 goals conceded. Doesn't it take a genius to work that out? So Nick Montgomery will look at that, have to address it quickly, because it's been Hibs' problem not only under Lee Johnson, but for years. They cannot keep the ball at the net. The other side, no problem scoring. They showed it again today, so they need to get something more joined up if they're going to be successful at this term in the Premiership.
Hugh, a busy Saturday of Scottish football. How do you sum it up?
Michael Beale got what he wanted, eventually. Brendan Rodgers got what he wanted, eventually. And now it's about our teams in Europe, those who remain: Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen. Celtic away to Feyenoord, Rangers at home to Real Betis, Aberdeen away to Eintracht Frankfurt. They have got to be strong defensively to have a good midweek.
Well, that is it for today. 6 hours down, lots of action, 6 Premiership matches, and we will be looking back on it all on Monday night. Gordon Dalziel will be back in the studio, and make sure to give us a call, get involved on Twitter as well. But it will be interesting to hear your views. But thank you to Hugh Keevins, Mark Wilson and Gordon Dalziel in the studio, to the top team all around the grounds as well. But make sure to stick around tonight, because what a way to kick off your Saturday night. It's the GBX up next.
The Clyde One Super Scoreboard Podcast with Lucas Land Rover. Here, wherever and whenever you need them. Visit them in store or online.